Eugene, get away from there!
Oh, wake up!
Becca, use your eyes. Does it look like you can help him?
But what do we do, Sean? The monster!
Don't call him a monster.
But what if he's dead?
Then he died to help us. Now look, I'm the leader of this squad. So listen up. You said Dracula knows we're here. So let's just try to find the amulet. And get the hell out of here.
Take him in the north! Take him in the north! He doesn't have knives! Do it! Wolfman's got nards! Come on! Come on!
This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions.
Welcome to the Invasion of the Remake podcast. I'm your resident Wolfman, Jason Bishop, and with me today is,
I'm the fucking mummy and you know it.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
I
Bela
think you're
Lugosi
Frank,
is not
actually.
dead because you're sitting right here, Sam Stepanenko, our resident vampire.
Oh, yes, I am a night person.
Yeah, you're not the mummy.
So
I'm
sometimes I
not
look like
a
it.
mummy. Don't put me in that little box. If I'm ever covered in bandages, it's because I'm clumsy, not because I'm a reanimated corpse.
Okay, Trish Coughlin, do you want to be...
I can be the Wolfman.
I'm the Wolfman. So you can be the Gill Man?
No,
Gill Woman.
creature from the Black
You
Lagoon.
totally are because you just came back from
Scuba diving?
scuba diving with the sharks. So you're our Gill Woman.
Absolutely. Or Gil person. It doesn't matter.
And to smash our creature feature is our guest, Van Helsing, Tony from Flicks X-Raid.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us.
I like that I'm the killer here. I'm the monster murderer.
We're just trying to mend bridges between us and the
Oh, okay.
monster
I
killers.
like that.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it'd be just rude to call you a monster.
See,
It's okay to call us monsters, but not you.
Yeah. I'm hairy enough to be the Wolfman as is.
I am actually
true.
so not hairy, but I like werewolves.
Yeah.
And I wear a lot of silver.
There's an irony there.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, you. Maybe if you wear a lot of silver, you can't be the Wolfman.
Unless he's keeping it at bay kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, there we go. That's why he's not so hairy.
Yeah, that's exactly
Shapes
what it
with
is.
silver blades.
That's how
Just
you
don't
do
nick
it.
yourself.
Well, and it's that exposure as well, that little bit of exposure. So if somebody does shoot me with a silver bullet, it might be okay because I've had a little bit in my system all the time. I'm getting resistance. to
Is it like you vaccinated yourself?
I am
Yes.
vaccinating myself. Yes.
Vaccination works,
Silver
guys.
I wonder if
Vaccination works, folks.
Yeah.
I'm just thank God werewolves aren't spayed or neutered.
Well, they definitely aren't in this movie because there's a plot point that helps with that.
That is right.
Yeah.
The only time I've heard testicles referenced as nards.
Really? I've heard
That's
nards
it?
a number of times.
It was only because of this movie.
Really?
Really.
Nards and dork for like dork threw me off because like I was supposed to like dink. If I'm honest with you, like at that age.
See,
I suppose,
I've
yeah.
heard them referred to as nards all the time. I'm pretty sure on The Simpsons they refer to them as
Yeah.
nards.
Well, I mean, where do you think that comes from?
Well, gonads, nads, nards.
Simpsons
There.
was like 2 years later.
Boom.
Yeah.
Actually, it was already started.
I think
Tracy
she's
Ullman
more
was
on
already
board.
going.
Yeah.
Fair. All right, we are talking about the Monster Squad from 1987 for our first entry into all the horror.
And we're just easing you in with a light-hearted horror comedy aimed at
Families.
Families,
It's
yeah.
a family movie. Absolutely. And if you don't know what all the horror is a big crossover event, a horror convention for your ears.
And your eyes.
And your eyes. It's going to be happening all over the place. There are writings that are going to be happening, art, and, of course, podcasts. And 31 podcasts over 31 days, I think, starting with this one.
I believe this is actually, I know this is the first one because I built the schedule.
Make this. You should know this.
I do know this.
And Sam, how can they find out what other podcasts to follow for this event?
So easy. Follow All the Horror 18 on Twitter. Search out All the Horror on Facebook because we do have a group now. We're encouraging people to join that. There's lots of discussion happening and more to come. And that one really is all about the horror. It's not just about the podcast event. We're hoping to keep this going all year round, where people can go in and talk about the horror that they love and horror news and all that fun stuff.
Awesome. And, of course, Tony from Flix X-Rayed is also part of that event.
That I am. Got a couple episodes that'll be coming out as well. I can't remember the calendar, but someone who made it's right
You
here.
are on the 3rd and the 17th, I think.
Nice.
All right. So just a couple days from when this drops,
Yeah.
you'll get to hear Tony's episode as well.
Yay.
So make sure you subscribe to Flix X-Rayed.
Yes.
And, of course, follow that hashtag All the Horror on Twitter, or just follow at All the Horror 18 on Twitter, and you can get the updates every single day when something new drops.
Yeah, and the Villain versus Villain poll is still going and will be going until the end of October. So you want to get in there and vote too.
Yes.
I'm pretty bad at that. Every time I vote, I'm like, oh, I'm against the populace. Great.
I was doing pretty
That's
good.
okay.
I was doing pretty good there until recently. Now I'm starting to realize that I'm not part of the popular vote anymore.
Yeah.
So it's me and Tony voting for the losing sides.
And the whole,
You know, but
it's
you
not
know
supposed to
what?
be a popular vote. It's
No.
supposed to be who would win in
It's
a
the internet.
toe-to-toe.
Of course, it's a
Yeah.
popular vote.
It's a popular vote. Half the time, people, I'm sure, voting for the ones that are like, oh, I don't
But-
really know that one as well as I know that one.
You know what? It's kind of like this movie that we're doing today. Some of these monsters need love too, and that's what you guys are giving
All
them.
monsters need love.
I am hoping these monsters are still something people care about. Because we're
And-
talking about the classics here. We got Count Dracula.
On your shirt?
That's right. I'm
Yeah.
wearing the Universal Monster shirt, so everybody's represented except for the Bride of Frankenstein. But yeah,
well,
we got
she's what, wave 4?
yeah, she's later. But I mean, most of these characters were conceived in the 30s as far as film goes,
Well,
except for
Frankenstein and
no,
Dracula.
Frankenstein and Dracula were the 30s, and
No, but the Frankenstein story was like well before that.
So was the Dracula
oh yeah,
story,
no, well, I mean, if you're Thomas Edison's Dracula or Frankenstein was like in the 20s,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
Dracula would have been the first adaptation would have been
Yeah.
Nosferatu. The first werewolf was in the 30s, but the popular one, the one that this is more based on, it was 1941, and The Creature from the Black Lagoon was actually in the 50s.
Yeah, I just like
Mummy was in
story
the
wise, they're from
30s
a
as
well
well.
a long time ago. But yeah, Mummy was from the 30s.
Yeah, as far as the popular Universal versions of these characters, most of it was in the 30s, which is something the movie got wrong because they said 40s.
Yeah.
And almost all of them were in the 30s, except for Creature, which was in the 50s.
My favorite person.
I think everybody really likes the Creature because it didn't get oversaturated like everything else. And
Yeah.
you got to have some pretty convincing creature effects to kind of pull him off. And they had great makeup in the 50s for it. And the few times it's been revived, it's always fun.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
and I do have to say the makeup for the Gilman creature was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit scarier than the original, but
Yeah, well, this is
Yeah,
Stan
definitely
Winston.
more.
yeah.
So at times I was like, what? this is Stan
Right?
Winston. Other times I'm like, oh, yeah, there it is.
Absolutely.
I think Dracula, it's funny because I've seen this version of Dracula top certain lists, whereas I thought, this feels old to me by the time we got to this movie in the 80s.
Yeah.
This Dracula to me feels kind of almost theater-esque, not so much
Yeah.
cinema-esque, right? Like he feels like the kind of stage presence you would see if you went to like a dinner theater, not so much on a cinema stage.
Yeah,
That's a really good way of putting it. That is
Yeah.
very much how it felt.
yeah, he's got the high collar with the red collar and the pancake makeup. He just
Yeah.
looks so traditional.
Yeah.
It almost looks like he bought it off of a Halloween rack. you
Well,
know?
I feel he's just doing George Hamilton from Love at First Bite.
That is totally fair.
Yeah, it did feel almost like a parody of the classic without really being an homage. Right? And I don't know if that was performance or makeup or just writing, but yeah, it didn't. It was the weakest part of the movie for me. Actually, was the Dracula character,
Which is the one that brings all the creatures together. You know, they actually
The head honcho.
Yeah, they start with this battle with Van Helsing in the past over this amulet that opens up an Army of Darkness style portal.
Yep.
For God's sake! How do you stop it?
Yeah, that's a
to
good
suck
question.
them all into limbo. And he's 100 years later is looking for it again because I guess it only works every 100 years.
Well,
You,
Well,
you can either open the
balance can
portal
only
or to
be-
make you immortal, which is something Dracula already is. In fact, most of them are.
No, I think isn't it the balance can be shifted once every 100 years?
Yeah.
So he wants pure evil.
I'm gonna be honest here. I think it's silly because he's hunting for the thing that can take him out, and what does he need it for? Just make a bunch of vampires and start taking over the
I
world
thought he was
that
going
way.
to destroy it and make evil win.
But that's where he keeps his stuff. Like, I don't understand why you would want to do that.
I don't know. It actually is a good idea. It's like, only one thing can defeat me. I should make sure I have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want that in my possession so I know where that is.
So, yeah, no, he goes and finds it and then fucking leaves it there.
yeah.
Well, he couldn't get to it because like
All
when
the crosses were in that room.
Yeah. So he couldn't get in that
If
room.
only he had a monster that could break through that wall. Any of them.
Well, the Wolfman had taken off by that point.
Frankenstein was already with the kids.
Frankenstein was a kid. I don't know where the swamp guy was.
And apparently the
He
mummy's
did not
just
get enough screen
uncooperative.
time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same with the mummy.
I mean, for fuck's sakes, Dracula was just running around. Oh, I have a lot of power, but I'm going to use dynamite.
Yep.
For a guy who didn't update his dress sense, he was certainly up to date with the modern equipment.
Technologies, yes.
Well-
Actually, that's not that modern either. But
No, because Van Helsing, when they're breaking into his castle, they use dynamite.
yeah,
So technically he's updated his weapons to Van
Yeah.
Helsing and
Yeah.
he's like, all right, I got this.
I'm only 200 years behind.
This
now.
dynamite is super useful. Let's just get
Why
on
doesn't
it.
everyone use this?
I've been around for a long time. Why did I not go to China?
I was impaling people like a sucker.
Who uses a sword? Dynamite.
Exactly.
That's him updating with the times. He's just still really behind.
Yeah, he's just like that old person who just doesn't quite get the cell phone. They sort of understand it.
They have it, but then, they keep on texting you, Google this, or,
Yeah.
those are my favorites. When they're trying
Yeah.
to Google, they're just messaging
Google,
someone.
what is blah, blah, blah? No, I'm not Google.
We need a scene like that in our remake.
Absolutely, yes.
Dracula trying to figure out a smartphone.
Oh, he's texting the Wolfman. The Wolfman's like, no, Google is a thing. I'm not Google.
He's doing that Bela Lugosi thing with his fingers on his phone. You will do my bidding, Siri. Siri,
You know what? I could see that, especially because he wouldn't be able to touch the phone. His
Yeah.
fingers would be dead, so he couldn't use a touchscreen.
Son of a bitch.
And it's like he's got this thick accent. He's like, Siri, show me the amulet. I'm sorry, I
What-
don't understand your query.
I cannot show you the armpit.
I'll show you the armpit. Did you mean Amstead?
That would be
Searching
good. See?
armpit.
Searching armpit. And then Dracula's like, oh God, what is all of this? Like it's just armpit porn.
Yeah.
It just happens.
Who would do that?
Who would do that?
I thought I was the monster.
Yes. Yes, Tony. Yes.
We got into a remake early.
Yes.
We did. Because we came up with brilliant ideas.
Right off the bat.
Boom. All right. Well, I think that's a good segue into our first trailer, our only trailer for today. The Monster Squad from 1987, otherwise known as Not Quite As Good Goonies.
You know who to call when you have ghosts. But who do you call when you have monsters?
We're the Monster Squad.
What's a squad? It's like Miami Vice, I think.
They're young and inexperienced.
know any virgins?
They're a bit disorganized.
Monsters are not real.
We don't know that, sir.
2,000-year-old dead guys do not get up and walk away by themselves.
But when strange things start happening in town,
There's a monster in my closet.
Whoa! Look at that big, scary monster!
What's happening?
You wait till the werewolf.
Silver bullet?
they're the only ones ready to do battle.
Something's out there that's killing people. And if it's monsters, nobody's gonna do a thing about it but us.
Soon the creatures of the night shall rule the world.
Real monsters? Us?
Midnight. In the world, remember?
Maybe we could be like Mask Squad and Stitch, you know? Two mask bombs.
We got 1035. Sit back up. Hurry up!
Or Nature Squad. The book was right. Don't you think it's all true?
By midnight,
You guys!
they won't seem so young anymore. The Monster Squad.
Wolfman's gone mad.
All right, that was the Monster Squad from 1987, written and directed by Fred Decker, also co-written by Shane Black. Shane Black, who did the Lethal Weapon movies, Iron Man 3, and The Predator.
Yes.
You
Fuck
know
you,
what?
Shane Black.
He's gonna come up a lot, so you might have to let that go at some point.
No, I'm so mad about The Predator. You were in the first one.
I know.
How did you fuck it up so badly?
I don't know.
Okay, well, Fred Decker is also had done Night of the Creeps, RoboCop 3. Oh, Jesus. And we've talked about him on episode 65.
I missed him.
House.
I don't know how I missed that.
Yeah, he
was
actually
House.
wrote it.
But I got Shane Black.
I know we've talked about Shane Black before, and I totally missed it. And I couldn't
Last
find
Action Hero, episode
Last
178.
Action Hero, thank you.
I have Mr. Mocked. That's all I got.
Oh, there's a cornucopia of crossover in this one.
There is, but not with Andre Gower, who played Sean. He was one of the kids. Robbie Keeger was Patrick. You could see him in Children of the Corn. Stephen Mocked, who played Sean's dad and the cop Dell. We did talk about him
Yep.
in episode 170.
Let Trish have it. She knows it.
Galaxina.
Galaxina. Yes, we've done
Yay.
Galaxina in episode 170. Duncan Reger was Count Dracula. We haven't really talked about him before, but he's did Zorro and V and Wizards of Warriors, some nice 80s classics, and he's like out of Lethbridge.
Yeah.
He's really
Yep.
close to us, so that was kind of cool to see some Canadian names. Tom Noonan was the
Yes.
Frankenstein's monster, and he's been in a shit ton of stuff that we have covered, including 178, which was Last Action Hero, episode 99,
Manhunter.
and 182.
FX.
All right.
Okay.
I love it when Sam does his research. He's pretty good at it
I
now.
knew Manhunter.
And just knows it off the top of the head, yeah.
Just a couple, not all the time.
No.
Very few.
Brett Challam was Horace. He passed away in his 50s from
Oh, my.
from pneumonia, complications from pneumonia.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Sad.
Ryan Lambert was Rudy. Ashley Bank was Phoebe. Michael Faustino was Eugene, who is in the classic comedy with Hulk Hogan, Suburban Commando.
Yeah.
Have you done that one on your show yet, Tony?
No.
Oh,
If you want, we can
his
do
work
it.
is much better
we
than
might
in
have
this
to make
movie.
that happen. Mary Ellen Trainer was Emily. She's also passed away now, but she was in a lot of 80s classics like
Yes.
Scrooged and Die Hard and Goonies, which this is a direct
Was
ripoff
she in
of.
Gremlins?
I think she may have been.
I
See,
think
you said this before the trailer. This is the not good Goonies. This actually, to me, is if you took the Goonies and someone made a fan fiction of it with the monsters, this is what this movie is.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
That's
Yeah.
a good way to put it. I enjoy this movie, but it's
Yeah.
not Goonies. I would remake this movie, but I wouldn't remake Goonies.
Exactly.
I'm not that dumb. Carl Thibault was the Wolfman. Tom Woodruff was the Gilman, and he's generally will play monsters. And he's played the Alien a few times from Alien 3 and a couple other Alien movies. He was also, from 108,
Pumpkinhead.
he played Pumpkinhead. He was a man on the stilts.
Wow.
Michael Reed McKay was the Mummy. He played one of the dead guys in 7. He was the Sloth Deadly Sin.
Yeah. The super emaciated. He was still alive.
Yeah. Jack Willem, who was briefly Van Helsing, he's actually been in 3 of our episodes.
Oh, I missed one. Damn it.
Episode 34.
That's what I missed.
That was Thunderball. Episode 43.
Clash of the Titans.
Yeah. And episode 155.
Casino Royale.
Yeah.
I forgot you'd done Thunderball because that was before me.
Leonardo Cimino, or
Excuses.
he was a scary German guy, and Sam and I
love
have
him.
talked about him
on Flicks X-Raid.
on Flicks X-Raid for Hudson Hawk.
Yes. It was
He's so good.
season 3, episode 41. I even did that research.
Nice.
So check it out.
That's right. So that was our an episode we did for somebody else.
Yes.
Sweet.
How weird is it that
crossover.
Yeah, how weird is it that we actually got a crossover with the only episode that we've done with Tony on his show
With
so
another
far?
crossover.
I think that's amazing.
You couldn't plan it. It just happened.
Nope.
It just happened. Stan Shaw was Detective Sapir. You've seen him in a ton of TV stuff. I probably remembered him from Rising Sun. Lisa Fuller was Patrick's sister, who was a recurring character on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And Jason Hervey, Eric
The Wonder
Bischoff's producing partner. Yeah, he's most famous for The Wonder Years, but now he's producing a lot of reality television and wound up doing a lot of stuff for, I think he started doing the wrestling stuff back in WCW with Eric Bischoff. So.
And ultimately he became, I think that's partly
He was-
because he became known as like just the jerk kid.
The jerk kid. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You
funny.
recognize him as soon as you see him, like, oh, that's the asshole.
Yeah.
Every movie.
Just look like an asshole. I'm
It's
sorry.
funny. We were watching the beginning of this movie, and his name came up with the credits. And like that, Val goes, "That Jason Hervey guy's in everything in the '80s."
And he's always a
And I'm
jerk.
like, "You recognize his name?"
Yep.
I didn't even realize that I recognized him as the kid as soon as I saw him, but I didn't realize that was Jason Hervey.
Oh, I knew his
who
name.
I knew the name from other sources. So back when I used to watch
done your
wrestling.
casting, Jay?
That's pretty. Yeah, that's
You
all I
missed a
wrote
big
down.
one.
Who did I miss?
You missed John Grease, who was
Yes,
in
that's
2
what I was
of our
about to
episodes.
say.
Okay,
He was in Real Genius, episode 180, and he was also in Running Scared, episode 149.
I ran out of room.
Excuses.
See, I liked him, so that's why I was.
Yeah. And
Get it.
interestingly enough, he played a werewolf, 2 movies almost back to back, like because he was a werewolf in this, and he was also a werewolf in Fright Night 2.
Which I've also done. Oh no,
Nice.
I've only done the first Fright Night. I haven't done Fright Night 2.
We've
I
done
want
the
to.
first Fright Night, and we will do it because they actually did remake the second
The
Fright
second
Night
one. Ooh.
as a direct-to-video. So I've been intending to do that one for a while, and it will still be a while.
Nice.
I've got October already scheduled. so-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Save those ones for later.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's coming. We'll do it.
yeah, but a cornucopia of crossover.
A
Yes.
cornucopia of crossover. It's
Say that 5 times fast.
cornucopia of crossover, cornucopia of crossover, cornucopia of crossover, cornucopia of crossover, and cornucopia of crossover.
Nice.
I'm a professional, my friend.
You'll notice that I didn't try.
I wouldn't either. I'd be like,
And if I fucked it up, I would edit it out.
the magic of editing.
Whatever. Take 5. Got it. You'll never know.
Just take the first one and just repeat it.
There you go. They're like, his inflection is exactly the same. It's so
Impressive.
All right. Well, let's get into this movie finally. This one, it's not a childhood favorite of mine. I realized when I was thinking about it, I'm like, I've only seen this maybe 2 or 3 times.
I had
Tops,
never
including
seen it.
this one.
Yeah, me neither. It's always been on my list to watch, but I'd never gotten around to actually watching it. And I was just like, when you guys were like, "Hey, we're doing this," I'm like, I want in just because now I have an excuse.
Nice.
It has never been on my list of movies to watch. I was already out of high school when this movie came out, and I was already into like hardcore horror, so sort of the
Kinky.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the sort of the younger demographic horror just didn't appeal to me, and I just never sort of glommed onto it because it just wasn't.
I was sort of in between. Like, I hadn't really got into the horror stuff yet. It'd be a couple more years, but I was around 14 at the time. So, the family fare, I was already kind of fallen away from. So
Yeah, you needed more.
See, this made my list because it's on so many other lists that I was like, I gotta watch this at some point to know why it makes, number 3 of the top teen saves the day, or kids save the day movie, or it's always on the top of mashup movie lists, and it's like it makes all these weird kind of movie lists, and I was like, what is this film and why is it on all these lists? So it's why it's always kind of being.
And I'm still wondering.
Well, I think I know why. Because this one, I guess I was too kind of just a little bit off the right age for it. Like, had I seen this movie when I was the same age when I saw Goonies, I could see this really kind of becoming a favorite, even though it's not as good as Goonies. Because it's like, if you watch this and you're in that sweet spot where you're just the right age, there's definitely some magic to it that a lot of nostalgia is going to be in there.
I find this movie's at times has an identity crisis. Cause
Yes.
Yeah.
It's definitely playing to kids, but at times it's got a little bit of that Stan Winston gore in it.
Yep.
Like, the story's pretty basic, but then you'll get something just like, whoa, okay, they just blew up the Wolfman, and that was pretty gory.
And they blew up the cop.
And they blew up the cop. Like, it gets violent at times.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's not really graphically violent.
Yeah.
I mean, except for when they blow up the Wolfman.
I'd still say that's almost comedic still.
It's
Because he reforms, right?
Yeah.
If he hadn't reformed, I could still see it being graphic,
Yeah.
but the fact that he reforms and reappears, it actually transitions it from being that graphic to that, it's comical. Because you would see the same stuff on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's cartoonish, so there's no real peril, so
Yeah.
it's not scary.
And there's not like buckets
Right?
and buckets of blood. It's like it's just sort of the parts flying apart and then pulling back together, right? So
Well, time has made this a cult movie and even into a classic movie, but at the time, it was a fucking disaster.
Oh, yeah.
The movie was budgeted at $12 million, and he wanted to take a stab at what it actually made.
5.
Are we doing net box office, or are we doing...
net U.S. box office.
All right, I didn't actually look it up. Normally I do for stuff, but I'm going to take a stab in the dark. I'm going to say probably about 8.5.
Okay.
I was going to have around that 5 mark, like 4.8, 4.5, somewhere in there.
All right. Everybody was over.
Oh.
$3.7 million at the box office.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. But it rates fairly well these days. IMDb gives us a 7.1 out of 10, and Rotten Tomatoes critics gave it a 67%, and the audience gave it a fairly significant 78%.
Wow. I can't say
Which
I
I think-
particularly agree with those, but
No, and this is where I think nostalgia
Nostalgia
weighs.
definitely affects the two of
nostalgia
those.
levels
We
are
bring
definitely
that
on.
up
It
a
does.
lot.
Yeah.
Although the critics still giving it a 66, because Rotten Tomatoes critic rating isn't based on current nostalgia. Like, it's based on the ratings they would have gotten at the time.
It's still fairly high.
It's
is
still
still
fairly
fairly
high.
Yeah.
And so that's actually surprising.
For what
because-
I think is a fairly weak script. I mean, just the motives for Dracula alone, I'm like, I'm not buying this.
well, and it's kind of draggy, to be honest. There's a lot of like
Lulls.
lull time in this movie.
I find there's stuff that they're set up that's kind of wasted space. Like, okay, we've got Dell and his wife and the kid, and his job, the job being a police detective, has
Created some friction.
yeah, it's an ongoing problem within the household because he's constantly being called to do his work, and it's fractured the family somewhat.
Well, it has, but it's sort of funny.
But it never gets resolved.
Which
No.
is, yeah, and it's funny because that's not how it works either. You don't get called at home to go to a case.
Yeah.
The on-duty detective is the one who gets called to go to the case.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, that's sort of what bothered me about it as well. Is like he just gets called in, and I'm like going,
Yeah, if
this
this-
isn't a big enough thing to even if it is
Yeah.
huge. Don't you don't
They wouldn't call an
somebody in.
off-duty police officer
No.
for a missing
Mummy.
from a museum.
No.
Like, no,
They'd wait
there'd
for
be
the
an
next
on-shift.
shift.
It'd have to be something a lot bigger to call in
Yeah.
off-duty officers.
And
It'd have
he's
to be
not a
connected
s-
to another case that they were involved in before they get
Exactly.
called in.
And he's
right?
not a specialist. Like it's not imperative that he's the only one who can help.
Which means he's actually also lower on the detectives because he's doing petty crime.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not so
Break-ins,
major
but yeah.
crimes. That would probably be major crimes. He's doing
Yeah,
break-ins
stealing
and
from
stuff.
a
He's not
museum.
doing
I wouldn't say
murders
that's
and
petty.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically burglary and robbery.
Yeah. Like they'd have guys for that.
yeah.
This movie does like a lot of those where it's like the setup and then nothing.
There's
Yeah.
quite a bit of that, and that was like the first one I really noticed. Was like, oh, there, and nothing gets resolved there.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, it's just
and
set up
there's-
one joke.
Yeah, and that's a shame because like there's actually something poignant there as well. Like
Yeah.
it's not like you can't put that stuff into a kids movie. For fuck's sakes, they killed Old Yeller. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
kids can handle a lot.
Well,
And they show the parents fighting too.
Yeah.
You're right. Kids can handle a lot. They show the parents having this fight, and then they just forget about it.
And that really bugged me.
Yeah.
and it should be like, I thought it was like, if you wanted to lean into that, like part of it is like, this kid needs this monster squad. He needs this club because there is trouble at home.
Yeah, and I think that's
Well,
a really
I would
way to motivate him,
I would
actually.
suggest that he started this club to get away from the arguing.
Yeah.
And that's why he's out in the treehouse a lot.
I could even,
Which was awesome. By
and you could
the
even
way.
Little
further
sister.
and have him have a moment where he's talking with his buddy, you know, to get into like what I would change about it. But like where he's talking about the fact that he needs to solve this so that his parents can spend more time together. You know, like that seems like a
Yeah.
motivation for the kid as to why, you know, I want to go after these monsters. You know, is he's like, hey, I see my dad struggling with this. I can help, and if I
Yeah.
help, then dad won't miss the appointments and you know all that kind of stuff. And it's like because that's kid logic.
Yeah. Oh, he keeps getting called out to do this stuff, but if I solve it for him, he won't have
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
I might even suggest that one of the monsters is this. Like maybe mom's an alcoholic and dad's arguing, or vice versa, or somebody's abusive and vice versa. And you know,
Ooh, making
seeing
it super
monsters.
You know what?
That's pretty dark, but
That's pretty
I mean,
dark,
we've
but
seen that
that-
in kids' movies before.
I
Yeah.
don't think so, because when you talk about the fracturing and crumbling of a marriage, sometimes it is just that benign.
That's true.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, going darker, I mean, considering I would want to make it darker. Anyhow.
As we are.
Oh, I
do.
want to make it darker with the monsters, not necessarily with the family.
No, like I still I like the idea because we don't really get stuff like this made for families anymore. I mean, closest we get are some superhero movies like Ant-Man and Shazam.
Yeah.
So, you know, there just aren't movies like this made for families anymore. These adventures, it happens once in a blue moon like Jumanji, but they're
And the
they're
kids
few
are
and far
the
between.
heroes, and they're kind of left to their own devices to fix it.
I was.
Well, those
at one
don't happen
point thinking about that.
nowadays because of helicopter parents. It's not
Yeah.
a reasonable plot.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, Rudy was another one that kind of bugged me. Here's this older kid. He's
That
a few
did
grades
bug me.
older than these guys, being protective of them. And why did he look like the Fonzie's son?
It's wildly
You know?
inappropriate.
Yeah,
I didn't like the age gap.
like he acts
fixed
older
that in
than
the
he
casting,
is.
actually.
Me too.
I didn't mind that, but maybe he can be an older brother or something, so he is a little more protective.
An older brother would make more sense.
Or a cousin or something.
In fact, I even integrated the scary German guy as a grandfather. And a descendant of Van Helsing. I thought, like, let's
That's what I
let's
thought
make
that
this
was
a little
gonna
more logical, and we can even have like his family. That's how they come across this diary in the first place, if we even use the diary.
I don't know. I think Rudy doing what he does, I've seen kids actually do that. I remember when I was in elementary school, there was a couple kids who were in junior high, because my elementary school was right next to the junior high school. There were some of the kids who were kind of, I guess, more losers than anything. And I don't mean to, like, you know, degrade, but it's like they would try to act cool, like the cool kids, and then hang out with the younger kids because the younger kids stoke that ego.
You get the feeling that the kids that were his age were even scared of him a little bit. Maybe it's just because he was an outlier and they didn't know, and he would fight back if something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
like
get
he's
into his
maybe just
face.
a huge outsider.
Yeah.
Like an outsider for everywhere.
And then these kids are kind of like, you can be our friend. He's like, oh? Question mark?
I like that he kind of had the hots for the what was the kid's name? Patrick's older sister. But again, something that didn't play as much as I thought it should. Like, yeah, I'll go to your treehouse because it overlooks that window
Right.
where she's undressing.
That's what
I like how he
It's
accidentally
pervy.
discovers it.
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
finds out that it's Patrick's sister, right? He doesn't
So
really
I
know,
mean,
but-
that's a good motivation for him to actually like, okay, I'll hang out.
Well,
with
and
the
even
kids.
Patrick's younger than the rest of them, too, right? If you're talking about age gaps.
Eugene.
No, Eugene.
Oh,
Eugene's the
Eugene,
young
sorry,
one.
Eugene.
Yeah.
Eugene's the younger one,
Yeah.
right? Because they have like a younger kid, and now they have an older kid. So there's
Yeah.
like 3 in the same grade, one younger, one older, in this kind of like.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
such a weird little group of people because you got like the 5-year-olds and the 12-year-olds, and then this
Well,
one
it's his little
14-year-old.
sister which like he's supposed to be taken care of. But I think Eugene kind of gets in there because he's really adamant about this whole monster thing. I could see him being like the super nerd, and they're like, "Well, we have to let Eugene in because he just
He knows
so
everything
much."
about monsters. Yeah.
Rudy, there's a great opportunity there because he's at that cusp of that coming of age thing. So he's interested in that sexy older sister of Patrick's,
But still monsters.
but still in that monsters.
There's that
He's somewhere in
transition age,
between
yeah.
both of them.
Wait, you're supposed to grow out of that?
Rumor has it.
What?
I don't think men do.
No.
Hey, I'm a
just-
girl. I don't think I did either. I love monsters and monster movies.
Right?
Yeah, that's why you're here.
I know. Like I don't think it's a dude thing. I think it's just you like what you like, and that's just what happens.
Yeah. You can choose to force yourself to grow out of stuff, but like, why?
Yeah, but we don't
The real monsters are other humans.
join
Why
clubs
do
and
this?
tree houses. And,
Right.
as adults, we do podcasts instead.
Yeah, exactly.
If I had a treehouse that cool, I'd be
That is
podcasting
an-
out of it.
That was an amazing treehouse.
I
really
was
was.
kind of jealous of that treehouse.
Yeah.
So good. And like where was their house? Their backyard? Like there's a whole swamp,
Creek.
like a creek and a tree house. Like
Well, it
can
was
I live there?
some
please?
suburb of LA.
And that's something we're going to have to address as well, because this setting and the creature from the Black Lagoon, or we'll just call them the
Yeah.
Gillmen, just happen to be there. I like the idea of this town maybe having its own cryptid mythology.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So at least
Because it has a castle mansion thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
how
at least
does it
we can
have that?
explain that a little bit. I thought about maybe changing how the amulet works a bit too. I thought the whole portal to limbo thing was a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we need something better with that.
Well-
Because how do you close it is also a good question.
The other thing is, it's like, so Van Helsing was, like, they find the journal, it's in German, the translation's all in German. The amulet apparently was locked up somewhere, but then it's locked up in this town?
Yeah.
Which is like,
Yeah.
why is it here?
In the US.
In the U.S. Like, that doesn't make sense. And the only way I can see it is because technically that mansion's locked up, and she says that she bought the diary at an estate sale. And so there's something like that they're not hinting at, that maybe the descendant was the guy who owned the mansion, which is why that stuff's all locked up underneath.
And why he
then-
had the book in the first place.
Why he had the book.
why he had the book, right? So it's like, I know you wanted to make the other guy be the descendant, the creepy old guy, but it's like, what if this is just one of those German settled towns kind of thing, right?
Could
And
be
like,
as simple as that.
and the diary, so it's like, it's kind of hinted at but not directly explained, because I'm inferring, going, oh, we have the amulet here, it's under this house, why would it be there? Well, they also said that the house is empty and that they got the journal at the estate
The
sale.
estate sale.
And so I'm like, okay, so from this I can infer
Yeah.
that,
And it's a plausible inference,
it's a
yeah.
plausible inference. And I guess they don't do a good job of having the kids maybe discover that,
Yeah.
because that's something that could have happened later, and be like, oh, this is the house of the descendant of Van Helsing, and this
Yeah.
is his journal or the diary, right? Like, that could have been a plot point later. Instead, we have like other things that come up, and it's just like, why? Like, you could have easily explained why the amulet's here.
And and I would kind of like, if you're going kind of that route as well, I sort of was kind of curious, like, you got it as an estate sale, but then like Dracula somehow like gets the castle. Like, how did this descendant die? What happened there?
Well, okay, I have some thoughts, and I thought about maybe keeping the amulet away from the town initially. In my mind, what Van Helsing did at the time was erase what these creatures are. Like, Dracula doesn't know he's Dracula or even a vampire. He just thinks he's some weird dude who has an allergy to the sun and had his mind erased. Frankenstein, who's kind in this one to begin with, he's told to kill the kids, and at no point is threatening at all, which is cool. They
Like
had
the
that
original
little
monster.
homage. They had that homage
Oh, I
thing
love
by
that.
the stream, which was great. It's
Which is-
very similar to the Frankenstein original film by James Whale.
Which is what I was going to say.
Yeah, which if anybody's seen the uncut or the cut scene from that movie, it doesn't end as well for the little girl.
No.
Because he takes something pretty and then tosses it into the water. But I wanted
Which
to play it
then
a little
fucking
bit
young
more to
Frankenstein.
Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, where he has
Yeah.
gained more intelligence, and he's guarding it. He's gone back to the North Pole and into the Arctic, like he does in the novel, and he's been frozen there, and he's been awakened because somebody's read a passage. And this movie steals the portal from Evil Dead. Let's just steal something else. They've read a passage that undoes what this is.
Well, and see, when I was watching this movie, I actually had the thought I was thinking about the Frankenstein's monster and how he should be more intelligent. And when he was like reanimated in this film, I thought maybe he's just kind of dozy and really hasn't gotten his brain working yet. You know, when you kind of wake up from a very long sleep and you're not with it.
Could anybody understand anything he was saying in the movie?
Not really, no.
A little bit.
Once did I like pick anything up.
Give me a break.
Yes, that was funny, actually.
Yeah, I didn't even get that.
Wuss.
Yeah.
But I loved it when the little girl's like, he's friendly. Come back, you chicken shits. That stays in.
Why is Dracula calling a 5-year-old a bitch?
Oh, right?
Yeah.
Why do you have to have a 5-year-old virgin? That's the other problem.
Because they should be.
That's exactly
Yes.
it. But I'm like, she's 5. This shouldn't be an issue. It should be
Yeah.
any 5-year-old child, FYI.
The fact that they stated it made me
Well, I
uncomfortable.
think that's because
Just
they
do it.
weren't thinking about it, because they were like, oh, we'll get the older sister to do it because she can speak German. And then all of a sudden it's like, turns out she's not a virgin. She's like, well, he doesn't count.
Yeah, Steve
right?
doesn't
Which was, I
count.
thought was a really funny line.
That
which
is a
like,
funny line.
He doesn't count. And then it's like, well, obviously it does. And then they're like, well, who else? But technically any of them, I guess it had to be a female girl, right?
But they never said that,
They
though.
never said
They-
that.
yeah.
I thought
No,
it was going to be like...
it's inferred because we see it at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Van Helsing brings in a girl to read from it.
But the
Right.
book never states it.
No.
No, and like I thought it would be like a hocus pocus sort of scenario where the young boy has to read it because he is a virgin as well, and he
Yeah.
can do it
And
either way.
I think we could do that with.
I thought it
quite
was
easily.
Rudy that would do it, honestly.
Which would then be him eating crow because he's been bragging
Exactly.
about how
He's supposed to be a
not.
cool guy and just have
Right.
that.
That would actually be a nice switch over, actually. And I like the idea of it being Rudy because he's kind of the tough talking braggart a little bit, but he is tough too, right?
Well, and I think that that's a nice way to give him a little bit more of his coming of age story.
Yeah.
I think that he's a good character to do that with and play on that a little bit more. Those, okay, he's doing the coming of age comedy bit, and the
I'm too
kids,
cool for
the
school.
kids are just like, "Ooh, monsters! This is awesome!"
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Horace gets a really nice arc too, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
where he's being body shamed by the bullies, and he gets to have his badass moment where he basically saves them.
Yeah.
My name is
through
Horace.
necessity.
Click, click.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's something that you can really play off as well because it is
Yeah.
still timely, right?
no, I'd like to keep that in for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I did cast a heavier set actor for that very reason because I thought that it was important to sort of keep that in front of mind that it's not acceptable anymore. Right?
Yeah,
it never
mine
was.
Mine
It
might
never
have to eat a
was.
few more cheeseburgers, but I had trouble finding it.
I had trouble finding a Horace. I didn't
Yeah.
cast him. He's the one I had trouble with.
Really? I didn't go with heavier set, but I casted somebody who could play the role well, personally.
Yeah, that's what I did too. Somebody who could play the role well and kind of has naturally round features. So
Yeah, and my actor is similar. Like he's not big by any means.
you might have to put him in a little bit of a suit, but pad out his costumes.
Why? Why make it a weight thing? Just make it.
It doesn't
be
have to
something
be. Yeah,
else,
I mean,
right?
see,
it's as long as that bully thing is tackled, right?
I had two ideas on this too. Like there was the weight thing, but when you look at the bullying, and this did happen in the 80s, I'm not sugarcoating it. It was all that kind of like faggot was like the biggest thing thrown around. I'm like, what if this kid is actually like that? He is gay. And they are mocking him for it because they would.
Kids will grab on anything.
Yeah.
At a lisp, there'll be something there. I mean,
Yeah.
even if there's some way to change your name into something, insulting. Like,
That's
Oh my
true.
God.
Yeah.
it doesn't
yeah.
take much. It never took much.
Yeah, exactly. Being taller than everybody was a big thing.
Yeah.
Shorter.
Taller,
Being taller, being
shorter,
shorter.
wider.
If you were different in any way, kids would latch onto it, and they would.
You wore
figure it out.
glasses,
Yep.
like all of it.
Anything.
So
Your hair is too long. Your hair is too short. Like kids
Yeah.
latched on all sorts of shit.
You're
Yeah.
wearing the right clothes. You're wearing the wrong clothes.
Yeah.
yeah. So there's lots of stuff to latch
The moral
on to.
here
And
is the kids are the monsters.
Pretty much.
kids suck.
There's a couple times. I think when I watched this movie, it was at that time. Like I got like horribly bullied at school. Like he's like kill the kids. I was fine with that.
Yeah, and a couple of the monsters in this are empathetic, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Frank's monster is definitely an empathetic character, and he turns out to be a kindly monster.
Yeah.
and our werewolf, our wolfman,
I'd like to make
he
him
doesn't want to be the
smarter.
wolfman.
Yeah, and that's just playing to what the type of the character it's always been.
Yeah.
He's been haunted by this character and
Yeah.
haunted by this curse, as it were. And you would think he'd be away from towns.
Right?
But he gets brought in,
He
forced
gets
to come in
brought in.
by Dracula. So he doesn't want to be there.
no, these creatures are being drawn to this
Yeah.
place.
And the first scene you see him, he's actually begging to be put in jail.
Yeah.
Put me in jail.
Yeah.
And I loved when, the other creature. We need more of the creature in the Black Lagoon because, like, at one point, all you really get is the one good line: "Creature ain't my Twinkie."
Yeah. Well, I have some ideas for the Mummy as well, but
Mm-hmm.
Tony's brought us a game.
Yeah.
a little segment from his show.
So
to ours.
I brought the Awesome Lodge word game. And so the way this works is I have 3 different categories. Each one of you guys are going to pick a category, and I'm going to get each of you to guess the 10 movies from that category in 2 minutes, but I can't use any of the words in the title, any of the actors' names, any of the directors' names, or character names.
That is horribly difficult.
Yeah, so it's like Taboo, but with 4 restrictions.
Oh my god, that's insane.
All right, so the 3 categories are, and you guys can pick which ones each one of you want. So there's Kids Save the Day movies, monster movies, based off all the Universal monster movies. Most of them are remakes, so you know. And 1987 box office topping movies, which this wasn't one, but this is the year it came out again, and so it's to kind of see what everything was compared against. So who wants what?
Well, Trish, you should go first because you've never played this before.
I've never played this.
So
you know what?
You can pick first.
I can go 1987.
All right.
Damn it.
Sorry, I was picking because I thought nobody wanted it.
Oh, I don't want kids.
Oh, okay, then I'll do Kids Save the Day movies.
All right, so you want Kids Save the Day, Monsters, or 1987? I think we should give Jay Monsters.
I'll take Monsters.
Yeah, and I'll take 1987, yeah.
All right. So then we'll start with Trish here. And
Okay.
With Kids Saves the Day movies.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. All right, so the first one is a movie we've referenced a lot in this.
Goonies?
Yes. The second one is a more recent remake, and it involves a clown.
It?
Yes. This next one is about children, and their parents are like James Bond.
Spy Kids.
Yes. The next one is about vampires, and it's about a young males.
Lost Boys?
Yes. This one involves a child who has been forgotten at
Home Alone?
Yes, I almost said the word. This next one, Must Phone Home.
E.T.?
A child has to save a whale.
Free Willy?
Yes. We mentioned this one before. It's about a board game.
Jumanji?
Yes. This one is the first one of the kid with the lightning bolt scar.
Harry Potter.
First one.
And the Philosopher's Stone.
Yes. This next one is a large cat from the savannah, a female magician, and a armoire or a closet.
Large cat from the center. Oh, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
That is correct. That's all 10.
Boom, you're like a savant.
This is hard, Trish. This is hard.
With 43 seconds left.
Yes. This feels like I'm like on a quiz show, and I'm like, this is my specialty subject. But those are great clues. Yeah,
Tony is really good at them.
This is why when we have game show segments we need to do for other shows, I want her around.
Well, trivia I did bad on, but quotes I did good on last one.
Yes, we were recently on the IMDb journey, which I think drops near the end
of the month, yeah.
The month. So catch our quiz show there. And I won't tell you how that one turns out.
All right, so Jay next or Sam?
I'll go next.
Yeah, Jay? All right, monster movies it is, starting 3, 2, 1. All right, so this first one is if a journalist was to go and talk with someone, it'd be called an... If someone was to ask you a bunch of reviews, interview is the first word.
Interview with a vampire.
There you go. This next one is we've been talking about this guy who lives in a swamp. It's
Swamp Thing.
It's his original movie though, the Universal horror movie.
Oh, Creature from the Black Lagoon.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, so this next one is a furry monster abroad. Is specifically in
American Werewolf in London.
Yes, this is the Monster Killer that we've been.
Oh,
referencing.
Van Helsing.
There we go. This one is we talked about how you need to do the second one. The first one is we talked about this one earlier tonight. It revolves around a guy realizing his neighbor is a vampire.
Fright Night.
Yes, this is a werewolf one. The first part of the word is your epidermis. Another word for epidermis. On the outside of your body,
skin.
And the second, you're not running. You're slower.
Walking.
Yeah. So
skinwalkers.
There you go.
Okay.
This next one is the monster wrapped in bandages.
The Mummy.
All right. This one is about a motel, but bigger.
Motel Hell?
Nope. It's a kid's cartoon one.
Hotel Transylvania.
There you go. This next one is the furry creature, his original one. The Universal one. He's on your shirt.
Oh, the Wolfman.
Yes. This is a comedy parody of the monster who's been created, except for he's not old. He's the opposite of old.
Young Frankenstein.
There you go.
Boom.
10 seconds left.
Oh, made it. I don't think I made it through it last time we did this.
All right. So Trish still got it best time.
But you got through all 10, yeah?
I did.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. 1987, the hardest one.
Okay, yay.
Here we go, starting in 3, 2, 1. All right, so this one is if you had a wolf, a lion, they all eat meat, and they are not carnivores, but the term, if they hunt their prey, they are...
Predators.
Yeah,
Predator.
There you go. This one is a organization of the military. A group of men in one faction is called a...
Unit?
Yeah, another word for a unit is a...
Squad?
Another word starts with a P.
Platoon?
There it is.
Oh, there it is. 1987, sorry.
If you were to get a wound that was going to kill you, it'd be a...
Fatal Attraction?
There you go. These are female spellcasters of a certain place.
Which is a V-Twick.
There you go. You're not walking, you are...
Running scared?
Nope. You are a male, you are...
Running man.
There you go.
We did that one.
Twa males.
3 men and a baby.
There you go. If you were going to toss your mother...
Throw mama from the train?
There you go.
Did that one too.
If you're a cop and you're watching someone and you're sitting in your car outside their building... eating,
Stakeout.
There you go. You're a cyborg officer.
RoboCop.
Yep. Damn it, this is the hardest one because I never know how to describe this one. It's a buddy cop movie, the most iconic one. I'm too old for this shit. There you go. 34 seconds left.
Nice.
Damn.
Look at us go!
You'd think we watched movies or something.
Right?
Yeah.
And for the record, we've done a lot of the movies in that 1987 list.
That was a lot of fun. Thanks for bringing a portion of your show onto ours. If you like that, check out Flix X-Rayed.
You can find us on every major podcasting platform, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, all of those, Podcast Addict type services. You can also find us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Give us a follow. Find out more of when we drop. And we obviously have our website, flixxraid.com.
We're going to take a break here. And we've got some other guests with some of their ideas for recasting and remaking this, and we'll come back with thoughts of our own. So please enjoy The Unwritable Rant, One Giant Leap for Geeks, and Kim and Ket Stay Alive.
Maybe.
Hey there, y'all. It's Juliette Miranda from the Unwritable Rant podcast, and I'm here today to share a few thoughts with you about the movie The Monster Squad. This movie is from 1987, and it's part of that really popular subgenre from the 80s where you've got a whole team of kids, you've got to band together and save the day because nobody can trust the grown-ups. What makes this movie a little different from the other kid movies of the 80s is that the bad guys in this movie are classic horror movie icons like Dracula, the Mummy, Frankenstein's monster, and I think the creature from the Black Lagoon, the Gill Man, is in here too. So all these kids have got to band together and they've got to save the day from the monsters who are there to, I think they're there to collect some sort of magic amulet. I don't know. It's a very flimsy premise. Now, this movie was written and directed by Fred Decker. And you might know that name because he's done a bunch of really popular stuff like House and Night of the Creeps. And recently, he also wrote the movie The Predator. And personally speaking, I gotta say, all of those movies are better than The Monster Squad. I know, there are so many fans of this movie out there, but I gotta say, for me, it's weak. It's kind of the horror movie answer to The Goonies. But at least with The Goonies, you really connect with the kids in the movie and with their plight. It's exciting, there are pirates, there's swashbuckling. Here you just have Dracula, who looks kind of cheesy, fumbling around looking for his crazy amulet. The movie is occasionally clever, and yes, it's very nostalgic, but I saw this movie when it came out in the movie theaters. I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now. In fact, when I tried to watch it this time, I fell asleep before the ending. Now, I know I'm supposed to talk about recasting this movie, and in thinking about that, I don't know if I could. Because really, this movie has already been recast and remade and called Stranger Things. But I know that's a cop-out, so here's what I would suggest. To make this movie a little bit more relevant, and maybe give it a little bit more impact with a more, seasoned movie-watching audience, I don't think it really matters who you put in for the kids. What I would do is recast the monsters. Because really, who today is scared by the concept of Dracula or the Mummy? They're kind of outdated. What I would do is throw in Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, and if you really want to liven things up, throw Pinhead in there and see what kind of damage he can do. Now, that's a movie I would totally watch. As for the Monster Squad, though, y'all, there is not enough bourbon in Kentucky to make this movie palatable for me. Sorry about that. But y'all, thanks so much for listening to my hot take here on the Monster Squad. If you want to check out my podcast, it is The Unwritable Rant. Just go to theunwritablерant.com. You'll find everything you need. Cheers, y'all.
What's up, guys? Mike C. Squared here, host of One Giant Leap for Geeks, and Invasion of the Remake was nice enough to ask me to be involved with their All the Horror episode, which I was more than happy to do, and I will be giving my little 5-minute review of the 1989 classic When Harry Met Sally. No, I'm kidding. No, actually, I'm here to talk about Monster Squad from 86. And oddly enough, I somehow have never seen this movie. Like, maybe in passing bits and pieces of it, but I do not remember the majority of it. There were certain scenes that came up where I was like, yeah, I think I do remember this. And then as it went on, I'm like, nope, nope, don't remember it at all. But it was a fun first time watch. The movie itself is fairly short. I think it's about like an hour and 20, give or take. And the pacing is pretty good. Like, they get down to the nitty gritty within about a good 15, 20 minutes into the movie. So you don't have to wait around long to see monsters and get what you came for. We follow our protagonists, where it's a group of, I think anywhere from elementary to middle school kids who are in a club, and they name it the Monster Squad, where they are really obsessed with classic movie monsters, Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, all that. And I guess they just sit in a clubhouse and just talk about monsters. They never actually really show what the Monster Squad was before the actual monsters showed up. They just kind of hang out. It starts off with this poor kid being bullied because of his weight. And I guess the cool outsider kid comes and saves him and makes the bully eat the candy bar off the ground that he knocked out of his hand and stepped on. From that, we just continue on to them trying to integrate him into the squad, and them finding out that there are actual monsters that have come to their little sleepy town. The movie itself is pretty funny. There are parts of it where it felt like they were trying to go for something more classic horror, not like 40s classic, but like traditional horror, where specifically the scene where the Wolfman transforms in the telephone booth, that was very reminiscent of American Werewolf in London, which I'm pretty sure Rick Baker did the effects on this movie as well. All the creature effects were really good, especially that beginning scene where Dracula turns from the vampire bat into Dracula. That was really well done. And all the werewolf transformation scenes were awesome too. It's a fun little ride. I can't say that it would be palatable for some people today, because there's a lot of stereotypes and a little bit of misogyny and just a dash of homophobia in there too, but it was a product of his time. So, I mean, it is what it is. All the cast are really endearing. Like, all the kids are surprisingly fairly good child actors. The little sister, she was probably the weakest one of the bunch, but she still did a pretty good job. My favorite character in the whole movie was the dad's partner, because the dad's a police officer and his partner is like giving him shit about investigating the monsters and all this other stuff, and he just cackles throughout the whole movie, and it is hilarious. And pretty sure he's the only character of our main cast that actually dies too. So of course they kill the one black dude in the movie. But I digress. I was really surprised at the copious amounts of dynamite that was used in the movie. Dracula's using dynamite. The cops are using dynamite. It's like everybody got sticks of dynamite in 1986 apparently. There's some pretty shoddy CG, I guess, special effects, not, like practical effects, but yeah, like it was pretty bad. Even for 86's standards, it was pretty bad. The guy that they got to play Frankenstein, he was probably the best of the monsters. I would say second best is the Wolfman. And then third, I would put Dracula. The guy who played Dracula was really, really corny. And like he did it in a very... not even Bela Lugosi, but just it was not good. But he did have a really cool accent. There is a scene where he throws a stick of dynamite into the kid's clubhouse. Again, the copious amounts of dynamite. And as he's walking away right before it blows up, he's like, "Meeting adjourned." And I was like, wow, that, you know what? If nothing else, you got the voice for Dracula. Maybe not the mannerisms per se. Like when he's trying to dig the amulet out of the wall, he's just like way hamming it up, and it's really, really cringy. But he did have a good accent, so I could see why they probably chose him. It's kind of like, the best way to probably describe the movie is, it would be if the Goonies, maybe, yeah, like say if like the Goonies, the classic monster movie team ups, and maybe like the Little Rascals sprinkled in, had a baby. It would be this movie. It's a fun little ride. I can't recommend it highly, but I would say if you got an hour and a half to kill, yeah, just sit down and watch it. Like, it's a fun little movie. Plus, if you're not like me and you actually saw the movie as a kid, it'll be a good little nostalgia trip for you. And one small thing, watch for the product placement in the movie. Between Burger King, Coca-Cola, and about like 4 other things that I spotted while watching this, I was like, man, there's a lot of fucking product placement in this movie. I don't know if they did it on purpose or what, but it's pretty hardcore. That being said, thank you again, guys, for letting me come on and do this. I really enjoyed watching the movie. If you are interested in checking out my podcast, I host it with 2 of my friends, DJ Melly Mel and Benoit. It is called One Giant Leap for Geeks. Obviously, you can find us on all the podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever you listen to podcasts on, YouTube, SoundCloud, we are probably there. If you want to actually interact with us, you can always email the show at officialoglfg@gmail.com. Or if you want to talk to us on Twitter, we're at Giant Leap, 4 Geeks. Thanks again, guys, and have a good night.
Hi, guys. Nice to meet you.
Hello. This is Kim and Kat Stay Alive.
Maybe.
We're a horror movie comedy podcast.
And normally what we do is one of us watches a horror movie and tells it to the other one who has not seen it, and we give the other person an opportunity to try and stay alive.
Stay alive.
For those of you that don't know who we are.
Shout out to Invasion of the Remake.
Yeah. Thanks for letting us do a little to invade you guys with a little remake of Monster Squad.
We're so excited to be part of #AllTheHorror.
Yeah. Had you seen Monster Squad before?
I had not.
I fucking
loved it.
I found it so fucking
cute.
Delightful. It was like Goonies.
It was Goonies, the horror movie.
It was so adorable.
Oh my fuck. They were so cute. I died.
Yeah. Pop quiz. When did your best friend Ketrin sob her fucking face off?
Anytime that Phoebe and Frankenstein's monster became best fucking friends, yes. Adorable friends.
I could not handle it.
When her little tiny hand was holding his big giant finger.
Oh my
God. And I was just like, Oh god.
I just loved it so
my god.
much. I was like legit upset and like wanting him to not get sucked into the void. Like I was like, he's gonna come back, please.
Isn't he allowed to stay?
Didn't he like prove himself as not a monster or something? Oh god, it hurt my soul so badly. But I loved it.
Their entire relationship was 100% my favorite part. I loved them so much.
And she was so cute.
So cute.
Like so cute. So I prepared a cast.
Great.
What did you prepare, Kim? What did you bring with you to the
I'm going to figure out how you can stay alive. I've got a half cast.
A half cast. Cool.
I'm not fully healing my broken bone. I've got a half cast over here.
Well, do you want to do yours first then? I want to know what our stay alive question is.
So basically, the deal was to survive, you need to find a version
of a virgin.
I'm just gonna use to find a version. Just gonna tell you a little spells because just spells a version. You need to find a virgin to do a little chanting. And that's your question, Ketrin.
Mm-hmm. What is a virgin?
What is a virgin and where do you find one?
Oh,
It's
mythical,
been so long.
Mythical being.
I'm unvirgined. So many times over.
So many times. I'm so unvirginal. Am I here? Like, where am I?
You're in the 80s.
But like what?
But you're us.
But like, am I in this apartment?
Yeah, you know what? Let's do now. Let's do present.
Okay. I feel like I'm trying to like think of children.
Really having a hard time.
I'm trying to think. So here's my predicament. I'm trying to think of children that are, oh, dear God, hopefully virgins, but also like, how do I explain to their parent, like, hey, can I borrow your kid for a second because they're virginal and I need them to chant some monsters away.
That's going to open a portal situation that hopefully we don't get sucked into.
Yeah.
But
okay.
No promises.
Because it's not like we don't have children. It's not like we have like access to little children easily.
Yeah. If I had a creepy crap bag kid, I'd be like, bro, you need to
fucking
chant
these
German.
monsters away, bro.
That too. How do you read German? Like, so both combo.
How do I read German? Oh, because what if the kid can't read? Okay. I was about to say I'm okay at reading German. That's a bold-faced lie.
I was like, oh, how and when? How and when, ma'am?
I feel like, okay, let's say between the two of us, I'm going to go ahead and say I could bullshit the German pronunciations of words.
I guess, but like,
Better
do you
than
want to
you?
chance it?
Between the two of us, who do you think? One of us has got to do it. We've got to monster the monsters away.
I mean, I'm the one that's fucking been to Germany.
Oh.
I'm the one that's fucked a stranger in Germany.
Oh.
Am I kidding? I don't know. You guys know. Who
so
knows?
We'll
never know.
You look over the text while I go find a child. Okay. You
Deal.
try and like familiarize yourself with the pronunciations.
Should we do a team answer to this? This will be more fun.
Okay.
Because here's what I was thinking. I was like, I'ma hop on Duolingo.
Okay. Oh, great. I love
or Google Translate.
Google Translate.
Even
and
though
have the
they're a
thing.
little womp, womp, womp,
But it's better
wonky,
than, like,
robot voice.
But it's better than like our dumb brains.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go with the girl next door.
Ooh, and I can hit up the boys that I met in Germany on
Nice.
like
And be like,
fucking
how do we
Instagram or some
fucking
shit
say
or how
this
we
shit?
follow each other. So
Yeah.
and be like, yeah, they taught me how to say more water, please.
I love it. And then they
So
can
they
just
can
like
just tell me the
literally
chants.
be like, will you send them a photo of
Yes.
the text? And
And
be
then
like,
they voice it to us. Yes.
read this
That's
to
what
me.
we're fucking doing.
Yes. And then
All right.
we play that recording
All right.
for whatever
Good.
fucking creepy crap bad kid I find.
Right.
I'm going to go with the chick next door.
Right.
Because she's 9 or 10. And I feel like we can talk to each other like adults.
Right.
But she's still virginal and innocent.
Great.
And like, I think she would do it. And I also think her mom, like if I could just be like, hey, Janina, can I borrow Jackie for a second? I feel like she'd be fine. She'd be like, yes.
Cool.
Great. I have so many things on my plate. Awesome. I think we got this covered.
I think so. We're going to Duolingo, Google Translate, talk to Germans, have them voice it for us, voice record it for us, and then
Grab my neighbor kid.
grab a fucking neighbor kid.
Great.
Because, like,
If she's
who
not
cares?
home, I think I've seen some other kids around.
We're just grabbing a kid.
Grabbing a kid. Yeah, there's another kid across the way
It's
too.
the only way to prove
they're virgins, as
Yeah.
if they're young, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
because
like,
otherwise I can't.
Where I don't know one.
Yeah, that's.
I haven't met a virgin.
I think we're covered. I think we're good.
so
Let's
bummed.
try and keep Frankenstein's monster here, though.
Yeah, we do need to figure out how to do
I
that
wanna keep
because
him.
I love him.
He was so nice. He was such a sweetie.
Maybe I'll be a non-virgin with Frankenstein's monster.
Hey,
Is
I
that-
mean,
is that what's happening?
Here's the thing: you're not going to put all that effort into making a monster without giving him a big D.
A big D. I bet he's got a big D.
I bet he does, proportion wise.
True.
You know.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear my cast?
I do.
I did gender reverse casting for almost all of it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So for
I thought about the cast, but I was like, I don't fucking know any 12-year-olds.
I literally
Again.
looked up a
Like, I
bunch
was
of
like-
12-year-olds. Yeah.
So am I going to know who any of these people are?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I think they're ones that you'll know, and also what they've been in. Like you'll get the vibe. So for Sean, the main kid, Millie Bobby Brown, who's
Nice.
11.
So
from-
honestly, what I did was basically put the cast of Stranger Things into this
love
cast.
it, love it. Okay, so Millie Bobby Brown is our main.
Love
chick.
it. Perfect.
Her best friend is Marcy Martin, who's on the show Blackish. She is
She's
the
the little one.
youngest daughter,
Okay,
Diane, because she's like real feisty. She's a fucking phenomenal actor.
Sassy. She's
so great. Great best friend vibe. I
Right.
thought about putting her as Sean, but like I feel like she's got too much sass. That would go to waste.
Right.
Then for Rudy, who's like the hot older brother,
Yeah.
Zendaya.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's great. You would
I'll
like.
trust
You would
you.
actually really love her for real.
Great.
Eugene, who's like the little one.
Uh-huh.
I found this little girl. I haven't seen her, but she's in the movie Captain Fantastic, and her name is Shree Crooks, and she's just this teeny tiny little blonde girl with these giant, big blue
cute.
doe eyes that
Little
just
bunny.
like her. I basically cast her off her headshot, where I was
Right.
like,
Great.
You got this, girl."
I believe in you.
Yeah. Phoebe, I cast Kennedy Clements, who was the little girl in the remake of Poltergeist. And then the EJ character that was the bully that
Right.
was
Yes.
ended
yes.
up being
He's the
Wonder Year's older brother.
He's like the overall 80s bully.
He got his role on Wonder Years from
Because
playing
of this?
role.
Oh my God, love it.
Yeah,
Good
I
for
read that
him.
on Wikipedia. I cast Aubrey Anderson Emmons, who plays Lily on Modern Family, who's Cam and
Oh, I love
the
her.
redhead guy's daughter.
That's funny.
Yeah, because she's kind of a bitch.
She's kind of a bitch.
Like, so I cast her.
I don't know if she's like bully enough for me. She's more of like sarcastic.
But I think she could do
Sure.
it. Yeah.
What about Horace?
I didn't have one for Horace. Do you?
I mean, I was only putting Stranger Things people in, so I put Dustin in.
Love it. It's perfect. Let's see. Van Helsing,
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Head, who's Giles on Buffy.
And Van Helsing was
In the like beginning, he's
Oh,
like
okay,
the
okay,
original monster killer.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Love
Anthony
it.
Head. Sean's mom, I switched roles again. So like the mom character is actually the dad in
Uh-huh.
mine. And I cast Nicholas Brendan from also Buffy the Vampire Slayer, who played Xander.
Oh, okay.
Because he's great and he's been having a tough time. And I feel like he could use the work.
So kind of
I
you.
know. Sean's dad, who's now the mom,
Mm-hmm.
is me. I'm casting me.
Oh, up top. Good for you.
Yeah. I think I'm into that role. I think it
Do
was fun.
I get to be someone? You're a fucking cunt, Catherine.
But did you cast yourself?
I didn't get that far. I didn't cast adults. I only cast children.
You know what? You need to believe in yourself first. Okay. You need to believe in yourself.
Can I be one of the monsters at least?
Yeah. I don't have anyone for Wolfman.
Great.
Ooh,
That'd
yes,
be a fun
Wolfman.
Wolfman.
Yes. Ooh, that's great. Yes. I'm shipping you for Wolfman.
Thank you.
Frankenstein's monster I cast as the dude who plays Rubius Hagrid in Harry Potter.
Oh, love.
Dracula, Jermaine Clement,
Who is from Flight of the Conchords.
and What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes.
And who is sneakily sexy.
He is.
Like, you don't,
sexy.
I'm just like, hey.
Yeah.
Hi.
What?
Last one, the pilot, who's like on the plane. I loved that it is a character from The Sopranos, Richie something or other, who ends up marrying Tony Soprano's sister for a while, and Tony Soprano's sister kills him. And he's just a real son of a bitch in Sopranos, and I just got a kick out of him being in this movie. So I'm doing stunt casting and casting him as the same role in mine.
Okay, great.
Yeah. It's a little inside for all the Sopranos fans
Great.
out there. And that's all I have.
You didn't cast the other monsters? Oh, I thought it would be fun to recast the monsters because these are more kind of like old-timey monsters, basically, with like present day, more horror villains.
Ooh, that's interesting.
So we basically have Count Dracula, a mummy,
A swamp thing.
the return of the sea creature from the black lagoon.
Got it. There
Creature
you
from the
go.
Black Lagoon.
There you go. All right, so we have Mummy, Dracula, Creature
Creature from the Black Lagoon, Wolfman, Frankenstein.
Yep.
Okay, so who would everyone be? And I think like let's throw down some choices of like Michael Myers.
Oh, Freddy
Krueger, obviously.
Let's see.
We could do Art the Clown.
Art the Clown. I was going to say we need a clown in there for sure.
We could do Art the Clown and or Pennywise. Let's throw both those as like some options.
Yeah, they can duke it out. They can fight it out.
Ooh, yes.
And then I'm keeping
Jason Voorhees.
Jason, I love it. I'm keeping Jermaine Clement as Dracula. I want him to be the head of the monsters.
No, I want to replace him with
All right, fine.
a horror villain.
Who?
We could even do Chucky.
That would be fun. I like that. A little Chuckster in there.
Okay, so who do we think would be Frankenstein, who becomes our friend?
Who would be the most likely to befriend us?
So I think that Dracula would be Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
just like see him as a leader.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You know, a really take charge kind of guy.
Maybe Chucky would friend us.
Maybe Chucky. Maybe let's work out some others, I guess. The Mummy and the Creature from the Black Lagoon. To me, like the Mummy, I feel like is Jason Voorhees.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Right? So one becomes our friend, one is Creature from the Black Lagoon, and then one is Wolfman, who was like
Kind of a
kinda
good guy, a little bit.
half good guy.
Is that Jason, maybe? That might be
Or
Jason.
Michael Myers.
Michael is so bad all the time.
Yeah,
Michael
like he's
is
dead
just
inside.
a real jerk.
Okay.
I don't know that he can be tamed.
Yeah, it's like our present day people are real evils
Yeah.
compared to this monster
Yeah,
squad. So
agreed.
it's tough. So then maybe Jason Voorhees as Wolfman?
Yeah.
And then I guess the Mummy and the Creature from the Black Lagoon would be one of the clowns and Michael Myers. And then as Chucky as our friend?
I think so.
I mean, he's not as sexy as Frankenstein for me. I
he's
can't
not.
really.
But I like that we're playing opposites. Giant man in original, teeny tiny little doll in this one.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, great.
I think that's great.
Well, I think we went
we nailed
4
it.
times as long as we were asked to go, but that's fine.
Oh, I didn't know we had a time limit.
Well,
I have
can
one
you
more
do?
thing, though.
What? What's your thing?
Do you know who the writer and director of this is?
Who? Oh, Fred
Decker.
Decker, who did our episodes of Tales from the Crypt and Night of the Creeps.
Which we just did.
I was having a Fred Decker month.
Yeah.
For
we were like
sure.
Fred Decker all around.
Yeah.
I died and loved Monster Squad so
it
much.
was so great.
It was so cute. I cried. And
And we're
I
available
fell
for
in
the
love.
remake.
100% available to play Wolf Woman.
Yeah.
And I look forward to it. Wolfman and Dad here.
Coming at ya. So thank you, Invasion of the Remake.
We love you guys so much. We so appreciate you. Everyone follow # all the horror on Twitter.
And follow us at KK Sam Podcast.
On social media, or you can go to www.kimandketstayalive.com.
So
And you can follow us, or you can find us on all the fucking ways that you listen to podcasts.
Exactly.
So this has been Kim and Ket Stay Alive.
Maybe. Come and listen
Until
to
we
us.
meet again.
Yeah.
Which you can do over on our pod.
Yeah. It was a lovely meeting you all.
So we hope you stay alive.
Charmed, I'm sure.
All right, and we are back. Now it's our turn to rethink, remake, and recast this movie. And I'm sure we got a ton of ideas here for the Monster Squad.
I just want more done with the monsters. I mean, because we get a lot from Frank and we get a lot from Dracula, but the other monsters don't get a lot of meaning in the movie. They show up and they're there.
Well, here was kind of my thoughts here, because I think the Mummy's the one the most horribly underused, and I think this is a good opportunity to throw Easter eggs from other movies, if not obvious ones, that come into our casting, maybe, or at least mine. And I was thinking maybe it's our mummy that gets this ball rolling, and maybe Dracula's off hiding, Vlad is off the map, doesn't want anything to do with the world anymore, and it's this resurrected Imhotep, maybe.
Yeah.
That
or even Karloff's mummy, because Karloff's mummy has a sort of a human visage as well, right?
That's interacting with and this amulet could be an Egyptian amulet that has been uncovered with his corpse.
And
that makes my casting work really freaking well then too.
Yeah, and I like the idea of somebody magical in here, so we can get rid of the dynamite.
I was actually thinking more with the mummy that the mummy was the only one who was awake, and maybe because they do tour mummy bodies on I thought it would be museum tours
related.
And so it's like the reason he was at that museum was because he's been looking for the amulet and using the moving from museum to museum as a cover.
And it's actually at the museum as part of another exhibit.
Work.
I like that.
You could have it as part of an exhibit like myths and fables of monsters through culture, which you could have the kids we have to go see this exhibit.
Right.
And it kind of ties in some of the monsters as well.
I like that. That's good.
That's a good idea.
That's a really good idea. This would make our mummy character the more powerful one.
And give him more to do.
Yeah.
Instead of that ignominious end he gets at the end.
Yeah, or
he's the oldest.
I mean, that was pretty funny where
it was funny, but
he's unraveled. But, now we've got a different idea. We've got several mummy movies already, especially with the Stephen Sommers movies.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one that's still in people's brains. So this traditional wrapped character just feels old, trite, and should be left in the 30s.
This was intended to be an homage to those characters, but we don't necessarily need to do that.
Yeah. I still want there to be homages to characters, just more current versions of.
I think it'd be interesting. I like your idea of the magical, and to expand upon that is if he is still wrapped up the way we know a mummy to be, and he is trying to steal power so that he can change, make him magical, make him trying to become his visage, and do that, and have there be random disappearances. Show him if you want to make it darker and less family oriented, show him leaving the museum and sucking the soul out of a homeless man or something.
Or just, you don't even need to show it if you want to keep it sort of family. Is just sort of show the after effect without it getting really graphic.
Well,
right?
I mean, I want to keep it in that PG-13 area, but I mean, the Mummy movies were.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not like we can't venture into that territory and be a little darker because
we just don't need buckets of blood.
Yeah, society can
you
handle
just show
more.
him sucking the soul out of somebody and cut away to them. The first case that the detective's working on is this body that is being robbed of all of its fluids in the alley.
And that could bring conflict in with Dell's character, because he pulls this case early on, and now he gets pulled onto another one that's the similar MO when he would get called at home. Mm-hmm. It fixes that hole.
If it's all of a sudden these bodies just start showing up random places that have just been drained of fluids, and you have the mummy slowly gaining power.
They've been mummified.
It is exactly demummifying. It's exactly the same kind of plot that we've seen in the newer mummy movies, and it kind of gives that kind of idea.
Yeah, it's got that familiarity, and he can start calling upon these supernatural creatures that are within the region, where we said it might matter, but the creature from the Black Lagoon is the one that probably poses the biggest problem. But like I said, he could be like a local cryptid myth, and we'd probably want some kind of coastal town or somewhere that has a big body of water, a big lake or something.
For sure. And actually, I was thinking about two ideas that are both kind of near the end of the movie, mind you, but I would love at the end of the movie to have our humanized mummy walking away. He walks away from the whole thing. That's the kind of the final shot, is him sort of slinking out of town. But what if our Gillman is actually working against the other monsters there because they're fucking up his town? Oh. He's lived there very peacefully. He's not friendly with the town, but he's
stayed away. He's got a healthy respect for it, and
it's his turf.
It is definitely his turf. I like that idea because they don't have to be cooperative.
No, because they didn't really in the movie anyhow.
Yeah.
I think we could also see then the Gillman and Frankenstein work with the kids, and to give the Gillman a bigger boost is maybe the kids do run into the Gillman and Frankenstein, and the Gillman actually is able to talk and starts to explain to them what's going on.
At least communicate with Frank through hand signals or something like that.
Well, we see doesn't the Gillman talk a little bit? No.
No, it doesn't say
but
anything.
it'd be interesting. Well, if you want to make it really interesting, the Gillman could know sign language, and one
It's
of the
Shape
kids
of
could
Water.
know. Yeah. Shape of Water. It's what the most recent Gillman is known for. If
Yep.
you really want to start doing homage to more
Even
recent
in the
versions.
original one, at least the sequel, there is a certain amount of intelligence to that creature.
Oh yeah, and we have to play
Even
off
if
that.
it's primal,
Mhm.
but there's still a lot of intelligence within that creature. It's smart enough to stay away from humanity.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's the whole purpose of that's what I was sort of getting at is he doesn't want his peaceful existence in his lagoon or lake or wherever he is messed with because of this invasion.
Yeah, in a sense, he is this natural guardian of this area. So these other things like a werewolf or this undead zombie man that Frankenstein would essentially be, and vampires, they're invasive species.
Yeah. But you could talk about too, like the Gill man lives there quite peacefully, like eating fish and like just local stuff, and like part of the mythos of it, like how people talk about him is like, oh yeah, no, these fishermen were like just fishing illegally and their boat got tipped over.
Yeah. Or these
And,
kids
like-
fell into the lake and something pulled them out.
Yeah,
Well,
like
and you can have like this town reflecting this idea of this Gilman, like
The local sports team is named the Gilmans.
Exactly.
that just sounds like a family.
And
the Gilmans.
the little tourist shops have like stuffies
Yeah,
and
and play
keychains.
off the whole cryptid myth that the town has. I love it.
Actually, to play with what the movie has, we don't have to have Frank be opposition to Gilman at all.
No.
He's in the swamp. The Gilman pulls his crate out of the swamp. What if the Gilman and him had been like communicating on the bottom of the ocean for years? They're friends.
Like,
it's the two of
they
them
know each other.
are like against the vampire, and maybe they do know the calls there for the other creatures. Like they can sense it as well. And it's just one of those things where these two are like, we need help, and that's when they reach out to the kids.
I kind of like that. I actually like that motivation. It's like it kind of explains how they arrive at the same spot together. It's like the kids discover what's going on, and these monsters going, well, these kids already know what's going on. Let's work with them. I'm liking the way that's going.
Yeah, and the monster's intelligent enough to know sign language. It's able like to communicate. Like we elevate that monster a bit more as well.
Yeah.
Maybe the Frank is more intelligent in this one,
Yeah,
and he's been living with the Gilman. The two of them have been like living together
Or
for
he's-
years.
the Gilman's been
he's just the
protecting him.
hermit in the woods.
Yeah, that's what I was had the same thought, like this dilapidated cabin that's in the woods that people are kind of scared of.
Kids have always stayed away from it.
Kids stay away from it. Hunters stay away from it. And not only
The
do they
Hermit
have
Frank. They call him Hermit Frank.
Hey, maybe they already have like a Bigfoot legend, thinking that is a Bigfoot
I
legend
have an
in
idea.
the forest.
You guys can poo-poo it if you want. But what if our scary German guy is Frank?
Frankenstein, he would know German.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a
I like
bad
it.
idea.
Yeah.
It merges the two characters.
It does.
But yeah, it kind of explains why.
Because I wanted to make him more intelligent.
And you can it merges the two characters, but it does fix some sort of overcrowding that happens.
And that would it would explain why he stays isolated, and there's this myth about that space. There's this scary cabin in the woods that is kind of legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's where I was going. It's like, well, the house that they stay away from, that feeds right into a scary German guy.
Yeah. Why not make it Frankenstein's monster? Maybe he is friends with the Gilman because they've been living peacefully for years.
And he does have a menorah. Frankenstein does.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like, part of me is Jewish. I don't know which one.
Oh, maybe he does know which one. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, maybe more than just that is Jewish. He's like,
I'd say he's probably part of everything.
well, no, yeah, like, but you could have that joke as like, part of me is Jewish, but it's like, not that, but my left arm, my right arm, I know part of me is Jewish.
Yeah, I know, but I think that could, like Trish said, fix some of the overcrowding. We can make Frank's monster more intelligent.
Oh yeah, I totally want to go there. I kind of want to play into what Mary Shelley wrote.
Yeah, because Frankenstein's monster is quite intelligent in that movie, right? He grows into it, but he's now had over another 100 years to get even smarter.
Yeah.
Oh, he could make fun of Dracula with the cell phone too. He's like, dude, I've been alive a while and I know how this works.
I'd like to see there's almost a competitiveness between Dracula and this resurrected mummy character. It might as well be Imhotep. That's one everybody remembers.
Yeah.
Like, he's been drawn, and he's a little pissed off about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to be left alone.
Yeah. I want to stay in my...
I'm done with these sheep.
Yeah. With my castle, with my harem, and
yeah,
and be cut off from the rest of the world.
I mean, there has to be an offer that's made that makes him be an ally, though. I think otherwise, an initial fight would be pretty good between the two.
It could be sort of the Mummy type of deal where the Mummy's like, you know what? I want to return to my former glory as like a king of everyone, where I had like I owned people and I had slaves, and he's talking to Dracula like, you know, if I return that to you, like you'll just have an easygoing buffet at any point in time you want.
Don't you miss being leader of men?
Yeah.
So like the Mummy's more manipulative and is the one who's like trying to convince the Dracula to take rulership.
Yeah.
To take part in it. Yeah.
I'll get you back to
reality,
Transylvania.
he's like the Mummy's probably planning to backstab Dracula
Oh,
last
absolutely.
minute to take over the empire to become.
For sure, yeah. And
Oh no,
Arrow.
front stab with a stake.
If anything, maybe the Mummy's a little surprised who shows up. It's like, oh, okay.
So the Mummy's more manipulative in this.
Yeah.
I can see, especially with Sam's idea of him slinking off at the end.
Yeah.
I could see him being kind of like that kind of rat character, that Iago style character.
Yeah, that's getting more fun already.
I like that. So how are we bringing in the Wolfman?
Yeah, that one's a tricky one.
Yeah.
I think the same call that brings in Dracula brings him in his wolf form. He can't help himself, right?
Yeah,
it is like a siren call.
Yeah, I'd say maybe there's a pack. Let's up the stakes a little bit. There is
A pack of wolf people.
Yeah, and the main one would be our alpha. As much as Dracula is also creating minions of vampires, this is something the Mummy guy can't do, but he's using all these other creatures to create his army.
Yeah.
I can see that working.
It would be a bigger battle at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be more like that final face-off, especially if we had Frank and the Gillman versus the Wolfman and the Mummy and like the Dracula and his brides. You know, it's like we're upping the sides a little bit. We're putting more on, balancing the scales. I think it would be a better battle, better fight.
And it would actually be a fight. It would be
And
like-
the kids have to go, like the minions are part of what the kids are fighting against, and maybe does the army show up early enough or no?
No, I think I like the fact that the army's late to the game is hilarious.
What did I actually wrote down? I'm like, and the military arrives just in the nick of too late.
I figure it's pretty much the exact part of World War II where they show up
on
late.
a 5-year-old scrawled note.
That was my other big question. Monsters are here.
Because they probably could sense the call too.
Maybe
they might have especially after World War II and what Adolf had tried to do with like trying to bring in all like the mystical stuff. They probably have a division that's like really understaffed. You could have this subplot of this guy who's like, no, it's happening, it's fucking happening. Like I've been waiting years. I've been in the basement of this building in the Pentagon.
I just thought like
a Fox Mulder kind of guy.
Yes,
a Fox
Mulder and Dana Scully just show up.
Well, no, it's like he got the note and he's like, oh my god. And so he shows up and then off of this note, like investigating it, and then realizes, oh no, it's going down, and then actually calls in the army.
Somebody passes to him and is like, can you believe this crap that we sometimes get delivered to the office? He's like, oh my god.
Except it wouldn't be a paper note anymore. It would be like a text or an email message, right?
And it would autocorrect for a child.
Yeah.
Like that's something that we could see as well as to why the military shows up too late. This guy could be there if you wanted to again add. I know you don't want to add too many people,
Don't add too many people, but
like you could still have this guy show up, especially if you want to pad out like the side of good, because we have all the Wolfmen now and like all that stuff. And I say good, but like the side with the kids, having an adult other than the dad.
I was just thinking, what if the base is nearby? Half of the military has been turned into werewolves and the other half has been turned into vampires.
Oh my god.
So they arrive and they're like, yes, we're saved. Shit,
no.
we're not.
Ooh, that could be a twist.
Gosh darn it.
Make a much bigger epic final fight scene.
Yeah, and that so now the only way out of this is whatever is in that book and that and
then that portal makes sense. We just have to explain why how it gets closed and why it only takes evil, because they're taking the kids and the when they took the girl at the beginning.
I still don't like the portal idea. I'd like to make it do something else.
At the end of it, what I was so sad at, like when Frank got taken in this movie, I was devastated. Like that
he's
little
not
girl
evil.
would be. He's not evil.
Yeah, I think that it only affects truly evil things. Right.
So Gilman and Frankenstein's
Problem.
monster would stay?
No, I
Yes.
would say like supernatural, where Frankenstein's a product of technology.
Gilman's
just a natural
nature.
creature.
Oh.
That's our way around it. 'Cause
And then
I
would it
hate the
turn-
portal. I fucking hate the portal.
So then would it turn back all the people who'd been turned, or do they get like...
It just stops
that
magic.
that could be. It's maybe it stops magic, and yeah, wouldn't that be great if like Dracula was turned human for the first time?
And then he just
in
turns to dust.
centuries. Yeah, he would just age out.
Yeah.
He ages out. Wolfman, his curse is being broken. He's like happy. All the people who've been turned.
I mean, it is a family movie, so you don't want it too tragic. So maybe you end it with something hopeful like that.
Yeah.
And,
then the mummy slinks off again.
Yeah,
because
because
he's already turned fully human. He is no longer magic.
Yeah. Well, he still has his own magical abilities.
But that's the thing. Like, he's still, because he was turned human through magic, I don't think it counts that he's human.
So then it does him and Dracula dust out, and the Wolfman, who was trying to help in the movies.
I mean, yeah.
I think the Wolfman would turn to human.
You don't have to keep the evil guy alive.
No, I know. I thought it'd be a fun way to sort of end it out.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe he slunk off before. He sees it's a losing battle. He sneaks off before it happens.
Gets out of the radius.
And avoids the effects.
Maybe, yeah, that would be probably the only thing that would make sense,
Yeah.
I think.
Or he just turns back into his mummy form, put back in the
put
casket.
back in the casket.
Yeah.
It's
I kinda
not to
like
say that
He's
something
not
else can't
gone.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Your
that
final
idea.
shot is like him like winking at the camera. As it, like, pans up.
Because the mummy itself
No, there should
existed
be
as
a
real-
ring like Ming
Yeah.
the Merciless.
But the mummy itself existed as a real thing. For him to go back into his mummy form in the casket that just goes from museum to museum, that's kind of good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like he slinks off. It's like he survives.
I wanted to see that manipulation, but I can work with that too.
Because he's not out if you do that, really. Because it's only reversing the magic at that point. It doesn't mean it can't come back.
And you can get that great moment at the end from the werewolf or from our Wolfman as well, where when he gets turned back to human, he says thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
I like that.
Because then they're cured.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the amulet would cure them, but then what's the motivation for Dracula possessing it? So people can't cure him?
I think wants to destroy it.
I think we got around that with the mummy Imhotep is already manipulating him into help creating this army and becoming this leader. I'm like, I take this half of the planet, you take your half of the planet.
And you know what? Maybe the amulet works one of two ways. If they read a certain incantation, something happens.
Maybe it enhances their ability.
Exactly, yes.
Oh, it can concentrate or dilute magic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it can make them way more powerful if they can read their translation, or it can completely destroy them.
Exactly, yeah. So because that makes more sense that it can do multiple things, and it depends on what incantation is read.
I like it.
Yes.
We still have a lot of the elements from the original film, but it feels a little fresher to me now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it just feels a little less yakety
plugs a few
and
holes.
more stuff is happening.
Yeah, now with our Monster Squad, I think we solved Rudy a little bit. I like that he would almost be in this coming-of-age teen comedy.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm in the wrong movie.
Yes. He's like, I'm hot for this girl, but I really am still interested in monsters.
I think...
Straddling the two worlds.
I still like the idea of Sean's parents having problems,
Yes.
but we need a resolution to that.
At the
during
end of the movie, that's where you get sort of something happening from them, their mutual love for their kids,
Yeah.
and her seeing how important his job really is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the whole thing is like, I would like to have it the thing where Sean is like saying like, well, I thought if I fix this for you, your marriage would be okay. Like, and they finally realize they're like, oh my God, like, I mean, it's not just about us. We need to put the effort in to fix our marriage because it affects other people.
They're not realizing how much, and we do see a little bit of that in the original film when Phoebe says, "Are you guys going to argue again?"
Yeah.
But are you going to yell at him? But
Yell
she's
at him.
talking about Sean, not her
Yeah.
dad. But
Yep.
but her mom obviously thinks that she's going to yell at dad.
And then she does yell at dad.
And then she does yell at
Yeah.
dad. And there's actually that really great moment on the rooftop where Sean and his dad are
Yes.
talking. And you could have that moment there. He says, I
they're
still
watching
love
the
your
movie.
mother.
Watching the drive-in.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
That'd be a little weird in modern days, but
I know, but Sam talked me into the drive-in on Targets.
Yep.
But I don't want you to talk. You're not going to win this one.
You know what? I don't care what they're doing up on the roof.
Stargazing, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they sort of have
he's
their
hiding on the roof
heart-to-heart.
to watch his iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah. They sort of have the heart-to-heart before he has to go out. Like
Yeah.
when he and his mom are supposed to go to the counseling.
Yes. Well, they're supposed to go for a dinner, right? But
No, they're supposed to go for a counseling session.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was counseling.
On the roof is after he misses the appointment.
Yes,
Yeah, and he's been called to the office.
Yeah. And he could have that heart to heart with his son saying, I don't know what's going to happen, son. I love your mother, and I don't know why we're fighting so much. And I missed his counseling session. It could have been what helped us
Oh
move
my
forward.
God. And you could have the whole thing where it's like, Sean is like, is there a way I can fix like what's wrong? And he's like, you know what? Sometimes it's just something and nothing. I don't know what to tell you, son. Sometimes nothing is the thing that'll break everything up.
Okay, so we got a good story there with Sean. You don't need it with every single character. We've got Horace's story figured out. I mean, the bullying story is a good one, and
Universal.
him finding his confidence and finding his voice,
I
and
wouldn't
no
change that
longer
at all.
needing somebody to get his back. But he's also got a circle of friends that
That's got
he's
his
part
back.
of.
Yeah, and Rudy's now our
Yeah.
virgin who reads the...
Yeah.
Especially considering we've gotten rid of the silver bullet to kill the wolves.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a female virgin. That's
No.
That's really, really old and hackneyed.
It's hackneys and pretty
Although
sexist.
I
And
liked-
virginity is going to happen
I
to
liked
everybody.
that Phoebe had basically saved the world.
Yeah.
The 5-year-old saved the world. I like that.
By
And
being,
I do like that.
taught German on the fly.
Yeah. And certainly it was
It
entertaining.
was just basically repeat after me.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Well, maybe some of his parts are virgin.
Yeah.
Never mind.
They might be.
Yeah. But yeah, I think turning it around on Rudy.
He has a bride. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he was saving himself for their wedding night.
Oh, so when he gets to go home,
I've
he's
seen
like,
Young
I got to go back to my wife.
Back to my wife.
He's like, you're married? Of course I am.
Yeah, he actually has a wife who just like is like, whatever, he's gone. He's doing his thing.
He's like, who do you think taught me German?
That could be it.
That'd
We
be a
have
good
a
one.
great marriage. Oh my God, she's a speech therapist at the school. Like she knows sign language and she knows German.
Oh.
She's a teacher at the school. That's his bride.
I like that.
Oh, even better?
And you could be so subtle. I mean, just you can have her in the cast and showing up as one of the teachers.
She's the big face teacher from the beginning that they make fun of.
And maybe you do it subtly so you're not noticing right away because she's never really put in the foreground. She's got that little white streak in the back of her hair.
At the end, it just reinforced the Dylan and Emily can see this relationship that's lasted literally hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it can work. You just need to work at it.
It's about communication.
You don't even have to have them see it. You could literally have the bride show up and like have a comment about talking about her husband about we don't know his work, but like have that saying to the mom's character and have like this click.
Exactly.
Marriage is a long journey, but you got to put the effort in if it's going to last the distance.
Yeah. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
And she could come out with her bride hair, right?
Well, maybe he's like, hey, after hundreds of years, you got to keep the electricity alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things are fresh.
Yeah.
You ready to go home, honey?
Right?
Yeah, no, I
Oh, you
like
gotta
that
keep
little
things
addition,
fresh.
right?
Keep the electricity alive.
You feel like a fresh side or an arm or a finger. Keep it fresh.
Well, the bride's not made of pieces, right? The bride's one piece.
Oh, it's one piece.
She
yeah.
was, yes.
Yeah, but she keeps freshening him up.
She changes him in for new parts, if you know what I mean.
Every once in a while.
I'd like a little variety this month, hun. Would you go shopping?
So there's
Hint, hint.
there's a guy in town who has a great bicep. I think you should look into that.
He's got big feet, if you know what I mean.
Actually, at that point, but like, if you know what I mean, he's like, oh yeah, I know what you mean. No, honey, I don't think you do. You are very clumsy and you need more stability, so I eat bigger feet.
You have mismatched feet right now.
You have mismatched feet. Like, you're very tall and those feet don't match. I literally mean big feet.
All right. Well, I think we got a good film here. Let's get into some recasting. All right. Well, our special guest, Tony, do you want to lead us off here?
Sure. So I'm going to start off with Sean. I chosen Jacobs. He's Mike in the new It movie.
Okay.
That's my casting.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, interesting. So we're doing a racial bend then a little bit on
Absolutely.
this one. Perfect. That's where I
And why not?
Because I then made the dad Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, excellent.
Okay, mine's different.
I like that a lot.
And then I made his little sister Sophia Lillis. So she's Erica in Stranger Things.
Okay.
Nice.
Just to kind of keep it like
Yep.
So that's them, because it's like you have to kind of cast a family on that
Yeah.
side. I didn't cast the mom because I didn't feel like she played enough of a role in this for me to actually cast her, and she would be...
I didn't either, but now that we've kind of bumped
Now
it
that
up
we've
a bit.
changed how that
just
story...
my instincts were said I need to cast her. I know why now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did not. And then for Patrick, I chose Jaden Martell. He's in Stranger Things as well. I think he's in Stranger Things. Anyway, I'd have to look that up. When I was doing this last night, I was like, yes, that's a perfect choice, and now I can't remember why. But I felt Patrick was also one of the lesser kids, so it's like he's a prominent character, but he's a lesser...
He's the best friend, but he doesn't show up much.
Yeah, he's the... Again, that's right. He's the best friend, but it's like there's so many characters he didn't quite shine as.
Well, you know what happened there is he wasn't an experienced actor. He literally was the best friend of Andre Gower.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, he's like, I got a friend who can play my best friend. Because he is.
Because like Horace does a lot of heavy lifting in this movie.
Yeah. Which is why for Horace, I chose Gaten Matarazzo, who is, again, Stranger Things.
I went with the same dude.
Yes!
I lean towards that as well. Maybe I should put that. I didn't cast him, but that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because
for the record, I did not pick anybody from It or Stranger Things.
Oh, wow. I didn't.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to stay away, because I knew that's where we would go. I'm like, okay, let's see if we can go a different
It
direction.
was my only Stranger Things cast, and I don't think I used anybody from It.
But I picked him because we've seen that he can play the bullied character, and I thought him as Horace would be a good role. He's pretty much already played that in Stranger Things, so typecasting. So those, I think, are the main kids that I got. Am I missing anyone?
I got Eugene.
Did you get Phoebe?
Oh, I did get Eugene. Michael Faustino, so he's also from It.
Okay, Rudy, did you...
Oh, and I did cast Rudy. Nicholas Hamilton. So he's the bully in the It movies. And I figured, so he plays the bully in those movies, but then I figured he could play kind of the I'm a badass character.
Yeah.
I'm a badass, but I've got a good
the
heart.
tough guy with a heart.
He could play the tough guy with a heart.
He's the one who bullies the bullies.
Yeah, so he's already been the bully, and so I figured if he can play a bully, he can play a tough guy, and so he can play a tough guy with a heart.
Love it.
Was kind of my thought. Then for Count Dracula, I chose Michael Fassbender.
Sweet.
Excellent.
I just think he could pull off, like, after seeing him play Magneto, I'd love to see, like, that Magneto-style Dracula.
I like that a lot.
And then I was, like, trying to think about someone who's, like, a really big guy to play Frankenstein's monster. And I was just like, I can't think of... I thought of a couple, but then I thought the one that would be the funnest, especially now with the Hermit one, and I think it works way better, is Jason Momoa.
Nice.
To play, like, especially if he's like now a hermit huntsman kind of guy living in a shack. I could really see Jason Momoa filling that, like, now that we've written it like that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You know?
Can I play Bride of Frankenstein then?
And so, like, that's kind of what I would pick for the monster, because I think he'd be interesting, especially because he got the big tattooed arm, and it'd be funny to put stitches, and he's like, yep, I got this off a guy, and, like,
nice.
You could definitely play off of, like, kind of those type of things.
And in some instances, he's got the tattoos to cover up the stitches in the scars.
Yeah, right? Like, he's tattooed to cover things.
That's a neat idea.
Right? And then, I hadn't picked him before, but while we were sitting here, I thought, instead of a wolf man, why not do a wolf woman? Like, I think that would be an interesting.
Love
That's
it.
fine, yeah.
And so I think Evangeline Lilly would be an interesting wolf woman.
And
And
she's
like,
got such a beautiful features to kind of...
yeah, right? And her hair kind of does that, like, wild thing, so I could almost see her when she's in human form, have the wild hair, be the alpha female instead of doing an alpha male type thing with it, and just gender bend that one a little bit.
I'll be in her pack, no problem.
Yeah, there you go. And then I thought, just for shits and giggles, Brendan Fraser as the Mummy.
Sweet. I didn't cast the Mummy, so I'm on board with that.
I had similar thoughts, but I didn't do that.
He's making a comeback with a few good roles right now.
He is so good in Doom Patrol.
So I think it's his time now.
Yeah, and it'd be definitely an homage to his original, but to play, like, the flip.
Yeah, I totally want Easter eggs to some of these other monster movies, but the more modern ones.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And then, just because the Gillman, I would cast Ray Park, because I know he's one of those guys who could definitely do makeup and make his body do interesting things, because he's, like, he's Darth Maul, he's Toad, he in those kind of 2000 things. He's still around, but he definitely would have the versatility to be able to move around in a suit such as that.
Yeah.
And, still portray something, because it's like, especially with, like, how he portrayed Toad in X-Men, I think he could pull off Gillman.
Excellent. Yeah. Do you got a director?
No, I forgot to do director.
Oh, okay. You got
But,
one off the
like-
top of your head?
This would be a hard one. I think I would actually say Joss Whedon because I haven't seen him do anything, and I know he can do horror comedy well.
Yeah.
Especially between like Cabin in the Woods and Buffy. I think if I was to cast a current director who could do horror comedy,
But he's
he
good
would
at
be
Appeal to
the
that
guy.
younger teenage audience, yeah.
And, and he knows how to grab onto what makes those characters work.
And I'm just thinking of Frankenstein in that cabin in the woods.
Yeah, and he can balance large casts.
Yeah, so I think off the top of my head, just quickly thinking about him, like he would probably be the best one
That's
to
good. Yeah.
deal with a large cast, to deal with all of these characters and pay homage because we know he can do it.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Excellent. All right, Trish.
Okay, so yeah, my horse again. We've gone with Gaten Madrazo, and again chosen Jacob, who is my Sean. So those are out of the way.
All right.
And then I also, when we still had Scary German Guy, I cast him. So I'm just going to let you know who that was. Christoph Waltz. I just thought he would be fun.
I thought about him.
to have him be kindly and give people pie. Thought that was very nice.
I do like how we've merged him with Frankenstein now, but
Yeah.
I do have a good guy for that, but now he's kind of gone. I'm still going to say him, though.
Yeah.
And then for like mom and dad, I had Marin Dupree, I think, who plays Terry's wife on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Terry Crews, who plays Terry. Because I think they can do the deeper parts and the emotional parts and the kind of comedy stuff that's required.
I could just see him with all these vampires and werewolves coming out and just going, "Why?
Why? Why?" We're like, come on. No, come on, man.
That's
come on,
better.
man.
Yeah, that's better.
And for Patrick, I made a Patricia, which is Amaris, and she plays Pepper on Good Omens. And we can play into that whole thing where it's like no girls allowed, but he's like going, but she's not like a real girl. And she's like, yes, I am.
That would be so
I
good.
thought about doing that too, but I
That's
decided just to sort of stay with that because I think it lends weight to Phoebe's character if she is the
True.
only girl, and that's why I kept it. Why I didn't
Oh,
go
see,
that
and
way.
I didn't cast Phoebe at all. So I was just going with
I
that.
cast Phoebe.
Yeah, I felt it was important because one is the line where it's like, quit being such chicken shits.
I like
that line has to be in there.
I do love that, but I didn't
I like
know.
a badass 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And I don't know any good, like, I haven't seen things with good 5-year-old actors.
Mine might be slightly older.
And then, because we expanded the creatures thing, Doug Jones' Shape of Water. We're just doing that.
For the creature?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done it
That's-
twice.
That's fair.
He did Abe Sapien,
He can
he
do
did
it
Shape
again.
of Water.
See, I
and,
thought about that, and I was like,
Yeah.
I thought that would get picked, and so I was like, I'm going to go with Ray Parks.
and it did. Twice.
Exactly. Eugene was Jeremy Maguire. He's the tiny guy Joe on Modern Family. He's
Yeah.
about the right age to do that.
Cool.
You know what? I cast him and then I scratched him out and cast somebody else.
Oh my god! Wonderful. It's so cute. Okay, so now for the main creatures, the wolf, I had John Grease. I'm just like, just put him back in there.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good one.
He does a very good tortured man, and I like him. For Frank, I did Derek Mears because I was just looking for a big guy because I didn't
yeah.
know what we were doing, and I could make him more intelligent as well.
He's a
Like,
great Swamp Thing.
Yep. And he's like just that big guy, but you can get the sensation like he can portray like that kindness that you need. Mm-hmm. And that's what I liked. And for Dracula, I went with Aidan Turner, who I was watching the Hobbit movies, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot how I like him. And plus, he played a vampire in Being Human, which I really liked.
That's a good Easter egg one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for my director, actually, since she's good at directing comedy, Booksmart, Olivia Wilde
Yeah.
is doing quite well. I just thought, just tap into that.
I'll be here, assistant director.
Nice. But yeah, like I also want to add Evangeline Lilly as another wolf or like the main wolf person. Like I like John Grease, but I'm like I could like
You got like two of my favorite actresses.
I
in
just
that
felt like it
movie.
was one of those things where there was like way too many guys on this, and I was like, there needs to be like a female
You're
on the
right.
bad side.
and you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I think adding in the bride also helps a lot.
Which, by the way,
Yes.
I just figured out who I want to cast for that.
Ooh.
Would be Sally Hawkins from Shape of Water.
Yes.
Just to make her the bride.
I love that.
yeah.
Another Easter egg one, right?
I'm
if she's
gonna
been
stick with
teaching
it.
the Gilman.
You know what? I'm not even
Absolutely.
going to try and think about it
No.
because I was trying to think of somebody to cast.
I
it, and
am
I'm like,
100% on board with
Yep.
that.
Nope.
Yep.
There's no.
Done.
That is our bride now.
That is our pick.
I did cast all three of Dracula's brides, though.
Well, there you go.
Because we needed. They were there.
Well, you were
we just
padding
didn't.
out.
We didn't. Yeah,
They needed to flush those out,
Yeah,
too.
and those would be his chief lieutenants. So.
Yes. Yeah, and if we're having that sort of epic battle at the end.
I have an idea of how I'm going to tie them into. We'll get there. Sam, go for it.
Okay, so for my Sean, I cast J.D. McCrary. He voiced the young Simba in the new Lion King.
Nice.
He's also a regular in a show called American Soul. For my Patrick, I cast Zachary Arthur. He was in The Fifth Wave, and he was also the son in Mom and Dad with Nicolas Cage.
That's such a good
I'm
show.
I'm like, oh, it's good. And all these kids were born in 2007, right? So they're right at that right age. So even if it takes a couple of years to get into production, they're still going to be okay.
Yeah.
Unless they shoot up.
Unless they shoot up, yeah.
No, don't shoot up. That's bad.
Yeah, don't shoot up.
I meant grow, like a growth spurt.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
There we go.
Not where my
Sorry,
brain went,
guys. It should have been clear.
Okay.
Children, don't do
shoot
that.
Just grow.
For my Horist, I cast Wyatt McClure. He plays the bully in Young Sheldon. So I thought I liked the juxtaposition of casting the bully as the bullied.
Mm-hmm.
And when I said he's heavier set, he's bigger, but he's not like big. So I wasn't sure if we were going to still go with that trope there. So, but he's big enough that he could get away with it. But small enough. But
if they're
If you
being
dress him
bullied,
right.
there should be some reason. They don't have to be rotund, the Stranger Things. He's got that lip.
Yeah,
Yep.
the missing teeth and the list. Yeah, like I said, it could be anything, but I like the idea of the key thing for me was the fact that he plays a bully and is going to play somebody who gets bullied.
Yeah.
Right.
Reverse the typecast. I like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
For my Rudy, I went with Lonnie Chavis. He plays the sort of younger version of the adopted son in the family. And he's a larger, he's the same age, but he's a little bit larger. And there's times where you see like how tough he can look. And so I'm like, well, yeah, he looks like that's sort of my deciding factor is he looks like he could be a tough guy.
Nice.
So he doesn't have to be older because they're all kind of at that age of transition as it is. Right? So I thought that would be a fun way to sort of fix that age gap as well. Right? Is get rid of it entirely and just make him a little more mature for his age.
Yeah.
For my Phoebe, I cast Leah Jeffries. She's like 4 right now, and she plays the child of the leads on Empire with Terrence Howard and Taraji P. Henson. So good. But yeah, she's wonderful, and I thought she'd be a lot of fun as Phoebe. My Eugene, I went with Oliver Alexander, who has already done horror with Curse of La Lorna, which I haven't seen yet, but
It's not bad.
he's a little guy, right? So,
But I saw the plain version, so I can't tell you if it's good or not.
for Del the dad, I went with, I'm going to butcher his name, Eke Daraville. He's in Jessica Jones. He plays the neighbor who works for her for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right. For my Emily, the mom, I went with Tessa Thompson.
Sweet.
For my Detective Sapper, I even cast the detective because he gets blowed up. And he's still getting blowed up.
He's still getting blown
Getting
up.
real blown up.
Need somebody dying that's a good guy.
And I stayed in the Marvel Universe for all 3 of my
Sweet.
adults. I went with Frank Whaley.
Okay.
Perfect.
Because I kind of think like the idea of having sort of our younger cops who sort of just becoming a detective and then having his older experienced partner. For my scary German guy, here's my throwback to the original movie. I cast Tom Noonan,
Nice.
who would still work for the mashup character.
There you go. That's perfect.
And then on to my monsters. For Dracula, I went with Dave Franco. I think he's got sort of that darker European look. I could bring some of the comedic delivery into it as well.
Oh, that phone scene. He could get that.
Yeah, he could totally get that.
he could totally nail that phone scene.
For my Wolfman, I went with Michelle Huisman.
Oh, Michael Heisman?
Michael Heisman, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he'd be really good in that because he actually kind of has that similar look to John Grease, actually. For my Frank's monster, considering they hadn't been amalgamated yet, and he could also do the role, I went with Brad Garrett because that big, deep voice, and he's 6'8".
Yeah.
Nice.
So I thought he'd be a lot
Big
of fun.
dude.
Yeah.
And he looks like he'd be, and he's been around a while, so he's like old and tired.
Yeah.
Like Frankenstein would be.
Yeah, so I thought that'd be a lot of fun. I cast some pretty big actors for my Gilman and my Mummy, which works out really well with our remake. For my Gilman, I went with a former swimmer. I went with Jason Statham.
Oh, all right.
Love it.
Because he's got the physicality for it, right? He's.
I don't see him doing makeup, but yes, I like it.
I think it'd be fun to see if you could get him to do it.
Oh, you can make it like he transforms when he gets out of water. You could get Statham to do it for that.
You just want to see him with his shirt off, don't you?
I'm not going to lie. Two things.
Wait, you don't?
Two things can be true.
For my Mummy, and I think he'd actually be really good as the human character as well, Adrian Brody.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
and he's also got the thinness to do that.
Especially if we see him turn human, like he's got that like that look.
That look, yeah. So I thought that would be, I'm like, oh, that works so well. For my director, I went with Jovanka Vukovic, who produced and directed XX. So she can handle horror comedy. So all of those were
very much horror comedy.
Were very much horror comedy. And she's the editor-in-chief of the Rue Morgue, so she knows her horror.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Classic and new.
Oh, very cool.
Cool. Oh, I forgot my Rudy.
Who's your Rudy?
My Rudy was Dorian Grover. He plays a character called Etienne on This Way Up, which is Aisling B's new series on.
Oh, okay. All right. For mine, I'll start with my director because if I don't, I always forget. I went with Joe Cornish, who directed Attack the Block and Ant-Man.
Oh,
he knows
love
how,
Attack the Block.
Yeah.
Attack the Block is great.
So, he knows how to deal with a younger cast in this kind of scenario to do kind of a family action horror movie. So Attack the Block is all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And still has that behind the couch type of horror that kids will probably dig. For my Sean, I went with Judah Lewis from The Babysitter and Summer of '84.
There you go.
Okay, good call.
For Patrick, I went with Seth Lee. You might have trouble picturing him, but he was in The Accountant. Corey Gruder, Andrew, I did as Rudy. He's also in the Summer of '84. He's just got slightly older. And he's in the 100 and the Netflix movie Okja, the one with the giant pig thing,
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now
I don't
it
know if
plays
I'm
him.
even pronouncing
How
it
do you
properly.
spell that?
OKJA.
Yeah, I think
It's quite good.
Yeah, I think, is it
I'll have to
Okja or
look that.
Oha?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it, but I've seen the reviews, so I hear it's quite good.
It is.
For Dell, Sean's dad, I went with Patrick Wilson from The Conjuring.
Sweet. I leaned that way. I was trying to think
I
of his
just
name.
watched The Conjuring this morning.
Oh, wow.
And Sinister. He's in
weird.
Sinister, too.
I'm
Not
channeling
Sinister.
Tony.
Yeah.
The one with the demon comes and he has to go into the outside ether thing. He's in that
Insidious.
one, too. Insidious, that's it.
Or he was Ocean Master in Aquaman.
Yes.
For Eugene, I went with Cade Woodward. He was one of the young kids from A Quiet Place.
Oh, nice.
For Phoebe, I went with Brooklyn Prince from the Florida Project.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. An adorable
Sweet.
little girl. So I think that she'd be great. For Horace, we already know from Stranger Things, Gatton Mazzarazzo. Me and
There
Tony
you go.
were on the same page on that
As me as
one.
well.
For Scary German Guy, I went with Peter Stormare.
Oh, my God. That's so good.
Yeah, he's a scary Russian guy, but yeah, that works.
His accent is so unplaceable,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
And he can do scary, funny.
But we've kind of written him out, but I still wanted to say it. For my Frankenstein monster, I just wanted him really big from like Game of Thrones and whatnot, Conan Stevens.
Nice.
For the Gilman, I went with Doug Jones because he's done it twice.
Many times.
Typecasting. Yep.
For Dracula, even though it's kind of okay, I still like him in the role, Luke Evans.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
From Dracula Untold. And plays to my Easter eggs.
Absolutely.
For the Wolfman, I had to resist Benicio del Toro.
When you're doing Easter eggs, I was really thinking.
I resisted it, but I went, I think he'd be a great Wolfman, Carl Urban.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, funny. He was on my list too. Yeah. I could just see Del Toro going, "Fuck that! I'm not doing that again."
Yeah, he can still do it, and I think he's an underrated actor. Arnold Vosloo is Imhotep the Mummy.
Yes.
He's done it. He knows how to do it. He knows his character inside and out, and he has menace written all over him.
He was good in The Mummy. I thought he was great. Like,
So I want to bring him back for this.
Great.
For Van Helsing, who's only a minor role in the film, from Bridge of Spies and A Good Day to Die Hard, Sebastian Koch or Koch. It's spelled Kock. So
yeah.
Okay.
I think he'd be great. He is a German actor.
Nice.
Now, for my brides, one of them I wanted to be the older sister. From the town,
Like that
and then
idea.
her friends, because Dracula does turn 3 women from the town.
Yes.
So I wanted to make these characters that we do establish within the narrative, and not just some
Random
randoms.
people, yeah.
A nod to the Lost Boys as well, kind of.
Yeah, and with our ending, they can be reverted back to human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're known for horror comedies. My first one is Samara Weaving from Ready or Not and The Babysitter. My second one is Jessica Rose from Happy Death Day.
Sweet.
And my third is Jane Levy from Don't Breathe and the Evil Dead remake.
There we go.
Very good.
There we go. And I actually did have a Van Helsing. I forgot to write it down. I was going to go with Armin Mueller-Stahl.
Also really good.
Oh, and I'm thinking of like all the brides when you're talking about like how half of the army next door is like turned like it's you have that whole
all
thing.
like teenage boys.
Oh yeah,
they're like sitting there going like, "Hey there," like
the football team.
So I got all these hot brides.
Yeah, the cheerleaders. DRACULA, Dracula.
That could bring some levity to this.
What are you gonna do? Bleed out.
Bleed out. What can they do? Suck it.
You could even have a moment with the older sister coming on to Rudy with something like that too, because he's been like perving on her, and then all of a sudden she like comes on to him. He's like, yeah, and then all of a sudden you have the same scene of him fighting the brides. Except for now it's.
But you have the younger brother, the exasperated younger brother, going like, "Dude, come on, she's a vampire. I knew she was a monster before, but now I've confirmed it."
My own sister, a goddamn blood-sucking vampire.
Love it.
As you want to talk about Easter eggs, that'd be a good one, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. True. You're right.
Awesome. Well, I think we did a really good job remaking the Monster Squad into something that, and this was up for a remake at one point, and it was around 2007, and thankfully the audiences rebelled against it because it was given to Platinum Dunes.
Oh, no.
Yes.
We all know how that goes.
Yes. So nobody's making that mistake again.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But I love this one. I think we get this on Netflix if we wanted to. Hey, Netflix, do you want to do this movie?
I think we could get this in the theater and actually make some money.
Yeah. Well, Netflix is starting to open theaters, aren't they?
I don't know.
I heard a rumor they were going to try and do that.
A Netflix theater. That's just so weird.
I know that they do releases with some of their movies. They'll do limited releases.
They could do limited releases with this one as well, but I've heard that they were trying to get into that business. But even then, Netflix has been doing some good movies. They could pour some money into this.
This would be good for any kind of launching streaming service.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting heavy now. We're going to be getting into that war within the next couple of years. It's going to be a pretty crazy war for streaming. So there'll be a mad dash and grab for all sorts of properties.
It'll be the cable wars all over again.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us, Tony.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Make sure you subscribe, Flix X-Rayed, and go check out his show.
And our episode going to be dropping on the 3rd, right? Yes.
That's if my memory is correct, I will put in a disclaimer that I'm going off memory. I could be wrong. It could be the 4th, but it is within the first
if
week
there
of
is
the
a correction,
event.
it will be in the show notes.
But if you're unsure, if they're unsure, there was one way you can be sure, and that's to be following at AllTheHorror18 on Twitter and that hashtag AllTheHorror, and they'll definitely let you know when everything's dropping. So make sure you follow those on Twitter, and you'll know for sure. And you can follow us at Invasion Remake on Twitter, Invasion of the Remake on Facebook and Instagram, and Invasion of the Remake at gmail.com. Tell your friends and family about the show and where to find us. They can find us on the link tree. I'm not going to go through the big spiel today because we've got a lot of plugs and stuff in here today. But go take a look at our social media, and the links are there if you can't find us because you're not looking. We're even on
Frickin' YouTube.
So, last resorts, we're there. Literally, your last resort.
You are hiding from us if you can't find us.
Exactly. Make sure you tell your friends and family about the show, and do us a favor, drop us a 5-star rating and a short review over on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast catcher. All right. Special thanks to, of course, Flix X-Ray Tony, The Unwritable Rant, One Giant Leap for Geeks, and Kim and Ked, Stay Alive.
Maybe.
And so go check out their shows. They also have shows dropping for All the Horror, so go check them out. They all have great shows, and we thank them for their participation in ours. We're going to be doing All the Horror all month long, so we got 4 more episodes this month that are all horror related. As well, we're watching 31 horror movies each that we've never seen before for our 31 Days of Horror specials that drop in November because we're insane.
Yes, you are.
Maybe little.
Maybe a little.
Do you hate
Mildly
yourselves
touched.
that much?
We just like horror movies. I mean, it's a fun thing to do because your brain goes through some weird things as you go.
It does, yeah. About day 10, you start to go, what have I done? You do get a little bit of a burnout, and then you hit a second win, and then it's like you just can't wait to watch some more.
And
and then I get to day 20, I'm like going, is there something wrong with
you guys are still kind of rookies compared to me. Now I know I've done a lot, so I know how to balance it out now.
Well, they're all ones you guys have never seen before?
They have to be the ones we've never seen before.
Oh, wow. That's going to get harder and harder as you go.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
There were 90-some horror movies just last year, and there's no way we've seen all of them.
Yeah. I figure, we've done... This will be our 4th year for doing it for the show, but I did it at least 6 or 7 times prior to the show through blogs and stuff that I wrote. So, I'm in 10 or 11 now, and I'm nowhere close to having a problem finding things. So it's crazy.
I think
finding good things is the tougher part.
But that's part. That's part of the fun.
Yeah.
And thankfully, you do your research and you try to find some gems. And
I think we've only had one abort in the last.
Mine. I've been the only one to abort
abort
something. So
I think I had one where I had a problem where I wasn't sure whether I should count it because I wasn't sure if I had seen it. That's the problem I ran into. It's you see so many, you're like, this seems familiar, but it could just be the tropes in it and not the actual movie.
All right, well, that's it for Monster Squad. I've been Jason.
I am always Sam.
And I continue to be Trish.
I'm Tony. Good night.
We are out of here.
Absolutely sure that she is...
You're not a virgin, are you? No? No, what do you mean, no? Well, Steve, but he doesn't count! Doesn't count!